what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
And we are live. Greetings to our loyal WFYL listeners around the world. Welcome back to your Philadelphia live stream, only on the Freedom Station. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in once again, because you still have the right to hear and the right to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G. As always, with me are Philly Chris, Russ the producer, and Liberty Lee. And you're listening to Mike G in the morning with The Law Matters. And you can listen to our program every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's be heard. I want to remind our listeners that you can participate in the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas throughout the entire week by visiting MikeGinthemorning.com. What's it called, Philly Chris? What's it called? Muty McMutinson. Muty McMutinson over there.
Chris.
Do you know what that means? That means your microphone is on mute, Philly Chris.
Have you tried unmuting your microphone?
Your name is not really Muty McMutinson.
Actually, it looks like his microphone just isn't working.
He identifies as Muty McMutinson. What's it called, Russ the producer?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
How about you, Liberty?
Mrs.
Muty McMutinson.
Liberty's broken too. Sorry, folks. There is no Liberty in the stream.
Listen, I'm not necessarily a professional radio host or anything, but if I were, one of my top priorities would be for my microphone to not be on mute. Maybe even number one. That would be pretty high on the priority list. So with that being said, what's it called, Liberty?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
You can check out all the shenanigans that Mike G and Muty McMutinson are up to throughout the entire week. Check out our videos and check out our social media profiles. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your barber, tell your Uncle Jerry, tell anybody who listen to check us out at MikeGinthemorning.com. I also want to remind our listeners about the powerhouse lineup we've got here at the Freedom Station. Kick off your mornings with Scott Adams, bringing you the Scott Adams Show, weekdays from 9 a.m. until 11. We've got the one and only Dan the Man Bongino, bringing you the Dan Bongino Show, weekdays from noon until 3 p.m. We've got the headliner, intellectual giant Ben Shapiro, bringing you the Ben Shapiro Show, weekdays from 3 to 5 p.m. And finally, we love having him at the Freedom Station family. We've got Michael Knowles, bringing you the Michael Knowles Show, weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. So don't forget to tune in and show him some love. And with that, you know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Hit it, Russ.
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hey, Muty McMutinson, are you back? No, he's not back. He's still Muty McMutinson. Nobody can hear him.
Oh, okay. How about now?
We can.
All
We
right,
figured
ladies
it out.
and gentlemen,
Have you pushed the on
MikeGinthemorning.com.
button? Have you turned the power button on the on switch instead of the off switch?
Is my mic on now? Hello.
What was that all about?
I don't know. I'm having a little trouble over here today.
Just a little bit.
It is
It's
Thursday.
kind of important to do that, right?
Hey now.
So today we've got a little bit of a change up from what we've been working on, talking about the comeback stories, the underdog stories. Liberty has made this compilation of a bunch of different debates with some of the most blood-boiling leftist, I don't want to say dogma, propaganda, but some of the most, we'll just call them positions. You could even call them positions. You don't have to couch it anyway. I want to see which one of I don't want to call, it's not really a viewpoint. I don't know if you would call it a viewpoint. We're all ears, but I want to hear what most infuriates our listeners. We'll take a poll at the end to find out which one reigns supreme. So Liberty has done us the justice of going through all of this footage, putting it together, and getting it queued up. So Russell, why don't we go ahead and check out the very first of these videos. So that way our audience members can hear what we're up to. A lot of times when you talk about these things, you got some of these highly controversial issues. They get highly contentious. They get heated when people have conversations. I'm very open to hearing positions on both sides. Some of them more infuriating than others. I find that I get more infuriated when one side says you cannot hold your position unless you're X, Y, or Z. They call you every ist in the book. That's when I start to get irritated.
Yeah.
And you can understand that people can have a difference in opinion. And I'm mostly interested in hearing the reasons why people formulate these opinions. But let's give it a shot.
Let's check it out.
Right. So here's the first clip that Liberty selected. I have no stop timestamp, so you guys are going to have to tell me when to stop.
Oh, you can roll with it. We've got all the time in the world, Russ.
Yeah. Got days. Thanks
Of
again,
course we
Liberty,
do.
for all your work.
Time for days.
Let's hear it for Liberty. Hey now, Liberty. Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hello.
Trans women should be legally treated as women. Tell me why you strongly disagree.
Because I'm a molecular geneticist.
Well, I'm not even sure. Everybody else is clapping. Okay, so tell me what that, because I'm not I know I count on my fingers.
Oh, wait, hold on. Can you pause it?
Genes.
This actually was what sparked the interest in all of these videos. A friend of the family had sent this, a listener of the show, and this was actually a good argument. This was a really great argument, and it sparked me to watch all of his other videos. So this is a great argument, and we'll go from there.
Is that an argument in favor or against?
You'll see. Watch this amazing molecular
I'll
biologist.
click play and reveal the mystery.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, stand by.
I thought Liberty was going to say, hold on, time out. This one stinks. Why don't you put on the next one?
Just skip this one.
Thank you for the heads up that this is a good one. Back it up, Russ, because now I'm talking over it.
Yeah, good job, Mike.
Go ahead.
All right.
I'm not even sure. Everybody else is clapping. Okay, so tell me what that, because I'm not I know I count on my fingers. I know nothing about genes.
Being male or being female is a developmental process. You can't go backwards. Okay. So you can't change your sex. Like, you cannot do that. And the truth is that currently in California prisons in other parts of the country, women are getting impregnated by other women. And there's just no way that, this is against the UN. When after World War II, there was like I don't remember what body came up with this statute, but it was against, I believe it was the Hague. You cannot house female prisoners with male prisoners because they get raped. And that's happening today. And it's not in the news. It's not in the common news, but I know about it.
So that's the argument for. So I just want to make sure I'm clear about this. So your argument is because you have domain-specific expertise as a molecular geneticist, and then the legal component of that is you're grounding that in your experience of what a man is and what a woman is.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This bothers me so much.
Well, that's why we're talking about it.
I know. My heart pounds, and I go to the women's changing room at my gym, and there's a dude in there. He's putting on makeup and hoop earrings. And this is not something a woman does when she goes to work out. And it's frightening. What am I going to do?
Well, so I know nothing about what happens in women's rooms. So that's the behavior is not common in women's rooms?
No, nor do women beat each other to death, but men do. And it's so sad that women have internalized misogyny to the point where the man's comfort takes precedence over the woman's safety. There's a reason why they don't.
So that's an interesting one, right? Because we hear a lot about toxic masculinity and things of that nature. Statistically, it's correct that when you see more violent crimes does lead lean towards male, right? There's a reason.
Would that be toxic femininity or
So how does that work? How do you reconcile the two?
Right.
That's an interesting point there. And I enjoy these types of discussions. I think he does a very good job at a moderator at simply asking questions, not injecting his opinion into anything. He's letting her tell her side, and I presume that he's going to let the other side state their piece,
Right.
and their reasoning and everything like that. And if these sorts of debates stay civil, I think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not a molecular biologist, so I'm interested in hearing what she has to say. And maybe somebody on the other side might have a point of view that I'm not aware of. I'll be interested to hear what they have to say.
Mhm.
But do you think that it makes you some kind of a hateful person if you're a female and you don't want to change in the gym locker room with somebody who's genetically male? Does that make you a hateful person?
I think it's a fair thing to request or be entitled to, or however you want to say it. I mean, it's
You have a daughter.
Right. Yeah, no, I think if she felt uncomfortable, which I would imagine she would, I can't answer that for her, but I think that if any woman, for that
Would
matter,
you feel
any female, I
would you feel
wouldn't.
uncomfortable?
No, I certainly wouldn't. I think bad things happen. We've seen that. She's talking about that, and I think the prison situation is a great example of that. We had some prisoners on recently, and it's amazing the stuff that goes on behind bars.
So we could all agree that rape is bad, right?
Right.
I believe everybody on all
Mhm.
sides can agree with that, and we don't want that to happen.
Right. And the likelihood that it's going to happen in these situations where you're combining the genders, and in a lot of cases there's a difference in the physical capabilities of these individuals. We've seen that in the sports.
Well, I'm
right?
sure that one of these debates that we watch will have to do with that at some point.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I think that there is a major difference with the sports as opposed to prisons, though, right?
Sure. Definitely
Why?
different.
Why? There's two that come to my mind.
I mean, it's probably safer, I suppose, than being in jail with somebody, in a confined space who could,
That's one
probably
thing,
safer,
right?
Yeah.
I'm not one of those guys who says that anybody who's in jail is there for a reason, because I deal with people who are wrongfully accused
Sure.
and wrongfully convicted every single day.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the individual. Yeah.
But you're more likely to find somebody who's broken the law in jail than you would anywhere else.
I would imagine.
I think the chances are a little higher, maybe.
Just a touch.
But there's a second thing, is that with these transgenders in sports issues, they're going about it in a way that they're testing for hormones, things of that nature, to make some effort to even the playing field. And you might have your own set of problems with that. I'm sure that, we might watch a debate involving that next. But I don't think they're doing that in the prisons, are they?
I don't think so.
If I'm wrong, somebody can correct me.
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it.
But are they giving some kind of hormone testing before you end up going in there? Because you mentioned the physical standpoint. I don't think it's good to talk out of your armpits. But I'd imagine that that's true. I'd imagine that that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Liberty, you've got female friends, don't you?
I love to scream out of my armpits.
Right.
How would you folks feel about is there something that makes you uncomfortable at being in the changing room in that kind of a situation? And are you a hateful person for thinking that way?
First of all, how dare you assume my gender?
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And I think you got ahead. We're going to get into all of these topics in the coming videos. I don't like changing in front of anybody, quite frankly, like even in locker rooms. So, I mean, add another element to it.
I don't even like it when there's mirrors around. Yeah.
You like to look at yourself.
Right. I'd rather the lights be off,
I mean, they forced you to do it from, grade school in the gym, and gym time.
I
And
hated that as a kid. Yeah.
it's very annoying. But yeah, I never really liked it personally, but I think just adding another element there, and you don't know who somebody is, where they're from. It's weird. I don't know. It's
Really, Chris,
different.
How bad would guys in your high school abuse that if that were an opportunity? I'm just saying.
Probably beat
How many guys? I could tell you how many guys on the high school baseball team would be identifying differently to get into the women's locker room.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's right. Obviously not saying that
Totally.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
Just
that
realistic.
everybody who does that has that mindset in mind.
Sure.
I'm not saying that. But I do think that women have a right to be uncomfortable and shouldn't feel like they're a hateful person if they mention that they're uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Well, even if it happens once, if one person is sexually assaulted as a result of the policies, then it's too many.
Well, if you use
Hey,
that
Chris-
argument, then you also got to do it with the guns, right? You got to say, well, if we could just save one life, then we got to change the entire policy.
I was
So
just going to
I don't know. I don't know about if it's just once.
Yeah. All right.
I think
Um,
save one life is a really stupid argument for anything.
Anything.
Because like
Yeah.
you can make the argument that doing anything is unsafe. Like you could trip and fall and break your neck if you walk. Everyone should sit on their butt.
Hey, you're gonna have to beep that out, Russ.
I was
Even
I
that
guess-
could be dangerous. Elvis died on a toilet, dude.
Elvis died on the.
Well, I think the point I was trying to make though is
Everybody
like
off the toilet.
Yes,
you're
no
right.
toilets allowed. I want a toilet ban now.
It saves one life.
Right.
Yeah.
Get rid
sounds
of the
like
toilet.
an ad for the vaccine, is what I was going to say.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's
this is
true too.
This is
Billy
true.
Chris, you're an anti-gunner,
Yeah, yeah.
pro zucchini now.
I'm
Look.
an anti everything.
And I do use the women's room all the time, so that's why I'm trying to defend it.
Yeah, but you think about that. The whole idea is that you balance. How much are you inconveniencing well-meaning people
Mhm.
by trying to save that one person? And it stinks. I mean, I wouldn't want to be that one person. Right?
Sure.
But you can say that if you took every single car off the road, right, nobody's allowed to drive anymore, it would save at least one life.
It
Period.
would. It
You
would.
cannot
Yeah.
argue with that,
Mhm.
right?
Save the environment too. There'd be
If
no
it
more
just
global
saves
warming.
one life.
Yeah,
If it just saves one life, we got to take every
Uh-huh.
single car off the road.
probably should do that.
Frankly, I
Yeah,
thought
but
with
then-
the turnip that we were
Mm.
going to see some changes in terms of other seasonal diseases that we see, because you heard about how those disappeared, right?
Of
And they went
course.
away because of the protocols and everything like that.
Right.
So I had a feeling and a suspicion that in the future they would turn to these things disappearing and saying, well, look, by taking these protocols,
Mm.
look at how many lives we've saved. So we
Yeah.
got to continue this forever
Right,
because
right.
it'll save at least one life.
Exactly.
I think for me, I want to sort of revise my answer. It's more of a parts thing. If I had a child, a young child, and I brought them in a locker room or something, and that's when it would be more concerning, as if there's different parts. You know what I mean? So like, what is the law of it? Like, you know what I mean? Then you got to start explaining different things and this and that. It's just, you know what I mean? It's a little awkward, I guess.
Hmm.
Well, how is that different than your answer?
Oh yeah, I guess it's not. I think it's more like narrowed down.
Hmm.
Like same parts in the same locker room.
You changed it to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that that's any different than your original answer.
Yeah. It's actually exactly the same, but totally different.
Yeah.
Why don't we give some shout outs so that CB checked in? Give me
Oh yeah. We love CB. Hey now, CB. Hey now.
CB, hey
Welcome
now.
to the show. Hey now.
Hey now. We got Rita checking in. Give her a hey now.
Rita. Hey now, Rita.
Hey now.
Rita.
Hey
Hey
now.
now. Yeah.
How about Randy? Randy gives us a hey now.
Randy.
Give him a hey now.
Handy dandy Randy. Hey now.
Hey now,
Hey
Randy.
now.
Stacks Farmstead. Give him a hey now.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of our favorite guests on the show, Stacks Farmstead. Hey
There
now.
we go. He's all-time list. All-time list.
Yeah, people love that episode. Good episode.
It's weird because it looks like Randy's comment got filtered out on one of our platforms.
Yeah, well, they like to censor our loyal fans.
So I'm putting it on the screen now. I'm putting it
Hey
on the
now.
screen so everybody can see it.
There we go. There we go.
See,
Take
now,
that,
having guns
YouTube.
saves as many as 3 million lives. The anti-gunners should go.
Yeah. Yeah, you never really
I
see
guess
that
I
every
shouldn't
day.
have put that on the screen. I should have read it before we put it on the screen.
Yeah, Mike.
I guess that's why it went down. But if
That's
people
okay. It was funny. It's allowed.
Mm,
should just go use the restroom in a hat, is what he said.
yeah.
For
Do you
people
hold
who
the
are
hat or
listening
do you
over
lay the
there.
hat on the ground? How
Do you
that?
leave the lid up on the hat?
Right. Well, which way is the lid facing? Yeah.
It should Elvis on the
Do you
hat.
put
Right?
put the hat back on after, or what do you do with the hat?
All right.
You know what?
All right.
That's
Let's hear
what
the
we
rest of it. Let's
That's
hear
what
the
we
rest
should
of this
replace the
discussion.
toilets with. In order to
Hats.
make it safer, we should just have hats.
Well, maybe take it with you.
All right. Take it away.
Take it away, Russ.
Portable.
Hit it, Russ.
Toilet in a briefcase.
As CB says, hit it. Russ.
Want to be in men prisons because men beat each other to death. Women don't do that.
All right, here he goes. He's walking across the stage. Someone on the
Oh, hey.
outside.
Were you convinced by anything she said about putting men in women's prisons?
I have a rebuttal.
Please.
With all respect too, because I'm an aspiring molecular geneticist, I want to say that your argument is really geared towards men identifying as women. But what about the other way around? Women identifying as men.
So you're asking her if she, I want to make sure I got this right. So you're asking her if she has a problem with women going into men's prisons.
Yeah, or men's changing rooms, going to gyms.
Here we go. He's going to ask her.
Women cannot force a pregnancy on a man.
You buying that? You are? Okay.
She
So
says,
what would it take you to move from agree to slightly agree? Like what argument would you have to hear? What piece of evidence would you have to hear to move one line over?
I mean, I want to know specifically why legally it matters. I mean, I consider myself like pretty open-minded when it comes to these things, so I guess I would move over slightly agree. I just personally feel like in my heart that it doesn't matter legally who someone or what gender someone is.
Is it better to make that decision in your heart or in your head? Is it better to make that decision on the basis of the way you feel or on the basis of argument?
But I think having empathy for other people is also important.
And there are reasons to have empathy.
Yes.
And do the reasons to have empathy, because you can have empathy about the wrong things, right?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that our reasons track our emotions in the right way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would it take you to move to the slightly agree?
A really good case study, a really good, solid.
That says what?
That says legally it's black and white, and
What's the it in that sentence? What?
are transgender women actually legally women, that it has to be one way or the other.
But that wouldn't be a case study. That would be an opinion piece.
Well, an example showing that must be true, that transgender women have to be considered males.
But that would just be a legal opinion, though, as opposed to a case study. Oh, you mean like if you got a bunch of judges and lawyers who agreed?
I guess just, yeah, I suppose.
yeah, that's.
But couldn't they agree just because they've bought into a dominant cultural value as opposed to something that's true?
For any reason.
This might be offensive.
Impossible. You're talking to me.
How do you know that this, like the other side, isn't based on cultural norms and based on a legacy?
Oh, it is.
History of,
It totally is.
yeah.
But I would say the answer to that question is who's willing to revise their beliefs?
And I think it's a person by person basis.
On the basis of what? Reason, evidence, or emotion, or some combination thereof?
Some combination.
Okay, so you'd be willing to move to the slightly agree if you heard a case study of judges and lawyers. You'd be willing to move, but absent that, you're not going to move.
For now, yeah.
Okay,
Hold on. Press pause.
anytime.
Press pause. Why would that matter? Why would what the judges and the lawyers think make any difference?
Apparently, they always get it right, right?
Yeah, they're never wrong.
Apparently, she'd rather be
Yeah.
told what to believe based
They
on
know-
a study.
They know a lot
I
about
think
medical
that's a good
stuff
point,
too,
Russ.
right?
That's a good point, Russ. Repeat that again in case we talked over you.
She apparently needs to be told what to think
Hmm.
by lawyers and judges in this case, which is not really any different than being told what to think by a TV show or a popular music group.
I thought there was a simple, logical response to that coming from her perspective, though. Had she said, she's talking about case studies, if she said, if we took a look at what's happening in the prisons in these situations and it turned out that what she's saying is correct,
Mm,
and
mhm.
there is a serious problem, that would change my mind. Um, Obviously, the study could come out the other way if you're evaluating it objectively. And if the study said that, then that would reinforce her position right there. Another thing could be if you're looking at the changing room, the incidents. That one's a little more tricky because you're dealing with people who are uncomfortable, whether or not they're physically assaulted or anything like that,
Mhm.
right? So even though somebody's not necessarily physically assaulted in the changing room, there could be women like Liberty or like with that other woman who would feel uncomfortable in that situation.
Plus
But if
the
there were a case study that said that, hey, you know, these incidents of transgender people assaulting women in locker rooms is extremely rare, it's an absolute anomaly,
Mhm.
then, you know, maybe that would change, that would reinforce her position. Or if she saw that it was more common than she thought, that might change her position. I thought that would be a logical, thoughtful response coming from that perspective rather than, hey, get a couple of judges and lawyers together and see what they say. Do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense. Plus, it seems like they often dismiss the feelings or the person that's being offended that this is being forced onto. You know, they say they don't want people to be, you know, offended, but then if you're on the opposite side of it, where you're being forced, let's say as a female inmate, to now cohabitate with men that are identifying as women, but that's a, you know, that doesn't, their feelings don't seem to become part of that equation, that math equation we joked
And
about,
she
right?
asked about
Yeah.
males who identify as, no, the other way.
Mm.
Females
Yeah.
identify as males going into a male prison. And she said they
That
can
seems
force
even
the
more
others to be
dangerous.
pregnant. But yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Is
I
like, what
mean,
about the person themselves who's deciding that?
right. I mean, that seems like
Isn't
you're even
that a
more
problem?
outnumbered in that situation. So that to me sounds even more dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I
all
mean,
just a mess.
I'm all about personal freedom and everything, but you know, choosing to go in there.
Right.
But then what if you had no intention of going to prison and you know, you on your driver's license now you're a male,
Right.
and then you go to prison? Do you send them there, or does the person have the opportunity to change their mind and say, you know what, as a matter of fact, I identify as female?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Good question. Yeah. Maybe that's why she was bringing up the whole legal
Get
aspect,
a
because I guess
get
it
a
would be
bunch of lawyers and judges together, they'll straighten everything out.
figure it out. They know a lot about
Yeah.
medicine.
They do a great
know?
job running
Mhm.
the government too.
And CB says, I
Need
identify
more
as
lawyers.
Mike G.
I'm going to call CB tomorrow for some legal advice.
Yeah, you know what? I identify as Bill Gates. I'm gonna go drain his account now.
Yeah.
CB, make sure you give him a bill at the end, okay?
Oh yeah. How much are you charging in an hour, CB?
Billion, chillion, gajillion dollars.
Right.
I'm charging all the money.
Yeah. I got some Philly Chris bucks I can pay you.
All right, why don't we go ahead and go on to the next video when you get that queued up, Russ. For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So I wonder if our listeners are finding this conversation as controversial as we anticipated it to be. It seems like a lot of people have their mind made up in the comments over here.
This is wait. This gets way worse, guys.
Entirely comfortable.
Got.
Check it out.
I hate that it autoplays. It's annoying.
That was
You can go
more.
ahead, press play.
Yeah, that sparked the.
I'll push play. Everyone quiet. Quiet on the set.
Hold on. The floodgates are open now, guys.
Very good.
Comfortable with abortion, you're someone who thinks a fetus has a high moral value, not a low moral value. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I think so.
Position? Okay. So then I would just fall back on you're welcome to, like, that's your value. Those are your morals, your values, and that's great. But we as a society, we don't have a societal consensus that fetuses and embryos have high moral value. Most Americans actually think that fetuses and embryos have much lower moral value than living sentient people. And so we shouldn't establish a policy. We should establish a policy that's more based on our consensus than that's based on your personal.
Sounds like an
So
awful
I'd
idea.
like to ask you a question. So just because there's a consensus, it doesn't mean the thing that there's a consensus about is true.
That's true. That is true. But
So I'm not sure
This-
why
this is
why
one
would
of
the
those
consensus persuade? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just say this is one of those cases where I think that historically, the American consensus that
Hold on. Press
that
pause.
fetuses-
Press pause.
Yeah.
Hey, leftists should realize this more than anybody else, but don't you think historically American consensuses have been a little off in the past?
Yeah.
They've
Yeah,
gotten
good point.
it wrong
Mike, good
just
point.
a
Right.
little
Yeah.
bit here and there
hmm
along the way. There have been
You
some
know.
pretty bad American consensuses. Is that the plural? What is the
Yeah.
plural for consensus? What is the plural?
Consensi? I gotta look that up now.
Consensei.
Hey, consensei. I like the ring of that one though.
There have been many consensus.
Yeah, there was a
in
time when people
America.
thought it was great to own
There
other
have been
people, right?
many a
Consensuses.
consensus in the United
Yeah.
States of America that have been absolutely awful.
Right.
But I just find it ironic that a leftist wouldn't acknowledge that.
Mm.
Good old-fashioned American tradition.
Oh, it's consensuses.
It is
Plural form
consensuses.
of consensus.
So I was
is
wrong. I thought I
consensuses.
sounded like an idiot by saying consensuses. I was like, that can't be. As it was coming out of my mouth, I don't think
It
I've ever
doesn't-
used the plural of consensus
Right,
before
no.
just now.
I don't think I've ever heard that or used it either. I like consensi better though.
Consensei.
Let's consensei.
But
Yeah, that's the best one.
yeah, I just find it ironic that that would be what they rely upon is the
Right.
good old-fashioned American consensus.
Yeah.
You know, consensus
Which-
is a general agreement, though. So I don't know
Right.
if she's
Right.
correct.
Which can
about
change
that.
over
There's a
time.
consensus. Oh, that's
It's,
true.
it's similar to what a true democracy would be, right? Two wolves and a sheep at a table, right? If the two wolves decide it's time to eat the sheep, and the sheep can't vote against it, right?
Absolutely. But I don't know that her premise is even correct, that
Mm.
we have a consensus that the unborn lives don't.
I was thinking that too. Is where's she
value.
getting that from? So
Because consensus is a general agreement. It's not,
Mhm.
It seems that there's at least a 50-50 split in this country. On
I would
this
think
right
so.
now, doesn't it?
Yeah, and even if it's one way or the other, as he pointed out, I think that was good to point out. It doesn't really matter what people think. What's the ultimate truth, and what's the moral high ground on that? I suppose.
No, I
right?
agree with you, but
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
that her premise is even correct.
I'm not sure she's making any sense, really.
She's not.
Randy's got a good one over here.
What's he got?
I identify as ultra MAGA anti turnip mustard eating American.
Nice.
I love it.
That's a good comment. We got to save that one. It could be a T-shirt.
CB says cuckoo crazy radio.
That's pretty good. It is interesting to hear people's arguments, though.
Yeah.
But it shows you how divided we are.
Keep it going. Let's hear.
Mm-hmm.
Just fall back on you're welcome to, like, that's your value. Those are your morals, your values, and that's great. But we as a society, we don't have a societal consensus that fetuses and embryos have high moral value. Most Americans actually think that fetuses and embryos have much lower moral value than living sentient people. And so we shouldn't establish a policy. We should establish a policy that's more based on our consensus than that's based on your personal.
What if the consensus doesn't agree with you? Then what? Then are you for the consensus? Get out of here.
So I'd like to ask you a question. So just because there's a consensus, it doesn't mean the thing that there's a consensus about is true.
That's true. That is true. But
So I'm not sure why would the consensus persuade? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just say this is one of those cases where I think that historically the American consensus that fetuses have lower moral value than living sentient people, like, is one that has been manifest like for generations. The abortion rate in this country has barely changed in hundreds of years. So I think it's just established that that's our value system, and it's not going to change.
I'm curious, just as a hypothetical, and I know this is a huge hypothetical, and if you're not comfortable answering, don't answer it. If you could be shown to your satisfaction that the fetus had more moral standing than you currently believe, would you be willing to move? I'm not saying I can show you that, but would you be willing to move, or is it just too weird of a hypothetical?
By saying it's a moral question, I'm saying that it can't be proven or not proven. It's a moral value. People have.
I thought if it's a moral question, then some people can be wrong. You mean it's an opinion?
Yes, the opinion is how much moral weight do we grant to embryos and fetuses?
And is there a truth of the matter to that?
Consensus.
No, I think a moral value is by definition something that's not.
So if it's not
empirically true.
So if there's no truth of the matter to that, then it would seem that half of your argument falls.
No, because what's true is that we don't have a consensus.
Hold on, press pause. First of all, we're going to play a drinking game where all the audience members have to take a drink every time she says consensus. All right?
Please don't do this while you're driving. That's bad.
Everybody take a drink every time she says consensus.
All right, hold on, let me,
consensus.
Wait, is this the same consensus that was needed for like the lawyers and judges to decide? Is that the same?
Maybe
consensus?
that's going to be the consensus.
Can we also drink when she says sentient?
Who decides? Who decides who these doctors and lawyers and people who are deciding who's the grand council?
We might have a winner over here. Stevie says pink shirt lady making me nauseous.
Yeah.
We might have the winner so far. I had a thought as to her very last argument. Russ, keep backing up about 20 seconds. It'll come back.
Yeah, hang on.
Go Russ.
Of the matter to that.
Is that it?
No, I think a moral value is by definition something that's not.
So if it's not
empirically true.
So if there's no truth of the matter to that, then it would seem that half of your argument falls.
No, because what's true is that we don't have a consensus.
Okay, that's it. Press pause. It's true that we don't think, right? That's exactly what it comes down to. This reminds me 100% of this conversation I had with Liberty one time.
Mm-hmm.
So Liberty and I were talking. A friend of mine had given me a bunch of eggs, and they included duck eggs. And so I said, hey, next time you come over, my buddy who's got a farm gave me some duck eggs. We ought to try these out. And Liberty said, I don't like duck eggs. I said, how do you know you don't like duck eggs?
Had you ever had them? Yeah.
She said, I don't like duck eggs. She said, and I said, what do you mean? How do you know you don't like duck eggs?
How do you know? Yeah.
If you've never had duck eggs.
Mm-hmm.
She said, it is a fact. It is a fact, and you can't change it. I said, how could it be a fact if you've never had duck eggs? And so I start cross-examining Liberty. I said,
right.
So you say you've never eaten duck eggs. Yeah. And in order to taste something, you have to eat them first. Right? Yeah. Right? In order to know whether you like the taste of something, you got to taste it first.
You got to taste it.
And you've never eaten duck eggs, right? Right. So you've never tasted duck eggs, right? So it cannot be a fact. And she said duck eggs are gross, and that was it. That was it. Duck eggs are gross. It's a fact that And I said, that can't be a fact. I went through all this. I was like, how could you show that you don't like duck eggs?
Right.
And they ended everything by saying, so I said, so I just proved you wrong. She said, nope, it's a fact. I said,
It's
"What's
a
the
fact.
She said, it's a fact that I think duck eggs are gross.
Well, that's a fact. That's a fact. I'll give her that
And that's
one.
basically what that lady just said.
Right.
She just said it's a fact that there's a consensus.
Were they similar to regular eggs, Mike? Did you eat them?
fact
Would you
that-
know the difference?
Wait, hold on. Please.
Well,
let
that story gets way better. So,
Oh, okay. Okay.
so one day she's over, and I go ahead and I cook up some duck eggs.
And you just give
I
them
just
to
said
her,
I was
yeah,
making
yeah,
some
yeah.
eggs. That's all I
Right,
said. I
right,
didn't lie.
right.
I just said I was
Making
making some eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, these are the eggs from my buddy's farm. This is fantastic. And she said, these are the best eggs I've ever eaten. She's raving about these eggs. Like, she won't stop. These are amazing. So I get her on tape. I was like, hey, I need this video for my buddy.
Right.
I said, hey, tell him what you just said about the eggs. These eggs are amazing. They're the best eggs I've ever tasted. Thank you so much. These are great. And I said, I got something to tell you. And she said, what? I go, those are duck eggs. And you got to see her face in the video. And she's just silent, and her face looks like she's all confused for like 10 seconds. And then she just goes, Michael!
Are they still gross, Liberty?
No,
Excuse me. The only thing I got out of that story is that you're comparing me to Pink Shirt Lady, and
I don't think he went that far. He never made that comparison.
Fact that you are like Pink Shirt Lady.
Right. Do you own any pink shirts?
So yeah, that is true. But my point in that is that your opinion can be a fact. It's a fact that it's your opinion. That's basically the bottom line.
That's a fact.
But it means nothing.
Right.
It literally means nothing.
Yeah, it's like
Hold on. I didn't say that it was a fact for you. I said it was a fact for me. My brain.
It's just a fact that it's your
It
opinion.
literally means nothing. It's just, you might as well just say it is my opinion.
It is my opinion.
Because unless you're trying to say, no, I don't agree with that, then of course it's a fact that it's your opinion.
It's not your fact, it's my fact. That's an opinion.
It's a difference between your fact being your opinion or the opinion being a fact.
Factually.
Right? Maybe you need a fact checker
CV said
for your
it's
opinion.
CV said it's a fact that Pink Shirt Lady is single and has 20 cats at home.
She seems very comfortable up there. She's like leaning on the podium and.
All right, let's hear it. Keep going.
Where's my mouse?
Okay. Pondering this. Had anybody said anything that gave you pause to go to the agree line?
No, but I think that what I'm hearing is a very compelling case for people to be vaccinated and to.
That's what that's interesting. Yeah, that you took.
No, but to me, the way I understand it is I think it's a good argument for why people should be vaccinated and raise awareness about issues of community spread that, it can have an impact.
The Christopher Columbus thing that made me.
That was interesting, yeah. But I think ultimately the decision, and that's how I interpret this question, the decision should still be with the individual, and we should respect that.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up in a minute. We have 3 questions from folks. So what do you thinking? What are you thinking of those arguments? And the fact that specifically it gave him pause? Was it specifically the Columbus argument?
No, I think it's a great argument to get people to embrace vaccinations.
Okay, and if that's the case, then the position seems stronger, providing you buy the abortion argument. So what do you think? What do you think? You've heard the best arguments people can make. Are you confident that you're standing on the right line?
Yeah.
What gives you that confidence?
I think some people would argue, and this is not my personal belief, that by women getting an abortion, they harm not only themselves, but, a living thing. And so that argument for vaccines, and I do think that as a society, we have a responsibility to protect and keep others around us safe. But again, I'm just seeing more and more how I don't think that they should be grouped together. And I don't think that my body, my choice should be the phrase that's applied to both.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
Okay.
Press pause.
What do you
Just so
think?
everybody's aware, because we kind of jumped into this.
Yeah.
But the question is, should my body, my choice be applied equally to abortion and zucchini.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that
Mhm.
logically, there's a clear distinction there that you've got that third party. Obviously, Pink Shirt Lady thinks that there is no third party because there's no moral value
Mm.
to an unborn child. And
Good point.
the consensus is that it don't mean nothing. That's Pink
Exactly.
Shirt Lady's take on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So she's pro zucchini and pro abortion, it seems like. So it shouldn't be applied equally. You
Yeah.
should be able to force to get the zucchini, and you should be able to have whatever abortion type activities. These people in the middle seem like they're not sure.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Keep it going.
Hit it, Russ.
All right.
Move now. Are you more confident that you've correctly calibrated your belief here?
No.
Want to move back?
Well, I think what's your name again?
Vlado.
Vlado?
Yeah.
I think he had put into perspective this idea that that the individual has the power to make choices, and that he can guide those choices to certain ends. And I agree with that. I don't think that someone else should dictate the choice that you make.
So you think that this is the right line. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No.
You think this is the right line, but you're not very confident that this is the right line.
Yes, I am not confident that this is the right line. Yeah.
How confident are you that this is the right line? 1 to 100, 1 to 10, with 10 being maximal confidence, 5 being, I don't know.
Get 8.5.
How confident are you that you're on the right line?
I would avoid quantifying that as to not rob myself of the opportunity of changing my mind if I have to.
So you could say 9 then.
I think people have a tendency to stick with their views. So I'll go with a 7, even though I think
7.
Even though I think my arguments are decently fleshed out, I think there's a danger of believing that you have the right answer at a 9 or a 10 because.
So I just want to drill down on this. So you think you're a 7 on strongly disagree. So if you stood on the agree, then that would mean you'd have to be lower than 7.
Could you repeat that question?
Well, usually when people stand on like strongly agree, their confidence is higher. But at 7, your confidence is coming in,
So I think I think I have well-reasoned arguments for why I believe what I believe, which is why I'm in strongly agree rather than agree. If I was in agree, I think that would be maybe something that I've heard, or slightly agree, something that I've heard for the first time, or I'm not sure. But the reason I'm a 7 is because, well, who am I to say that I have the answer to this question?
Okay, so I'm curious now. He thinks that he has well-reasoned arguments. Now, the key is, I'm not asking you if you agree with him. I'm first asking you if you understand his arguments, and I'm going to ask if you not agree, but do you understand, and do you understand the reasoning behind them? So do you understand the arguments and what his reasoning is?
I don't understand, but almost ignoring the social impact of spreading infectious diseases.
Okay, fair enough. So sorry.
I am not sure I understand Vlad's argument.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to hopefully maybe we'll flesh it out in the Q&A.
That's interesting. That's well, that's a good point, right? So if you use the premise for the sake of discussion that zucchini makes your community safer, right? And that if you don't zucchini, that your community is in danger, then that's bringing it to the light of the third party, much like with the abortion issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I think that's a valid point. As long as we're being logical here while we're having the discussion, there's always going to be one fundamental difference, right? Like when the lady brings up the point, well, I don't think that, unborn have value and society agrees. That's going to be where the major difference is. If we could get to that one point logically, then I think people are a lot more comfortable having these conversations. I don't think that's necessarily logical as her conclusion, but you know, a lot of times it feels like these people are bending over backwards doing gymnastics in order to get to their opinion.
Yeah.
And I can understand where they're coming from on certain points, even if I disagree with them.
Yeah.
You too,
Makes
Chris,
sense.
or no?
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. And you know, I'm all for people having their own opinions. I think it's great. It's a wonderful part of our country.
If your
and,
understanding was the science that people who don't zucchini
right.
have a really negative impact on other people in their community,
Mhm.
would that concern you?
Well, I think if the science, like, you know, were resolved and certain on that, then maybe we could have
No. That's not
yeah.
what I'm asking. I'm saying
Okay.
if you came from a position, pretend you're already there, right? For the
Yes.
sake of this discussion, you're already there.
Mhm.
And your understanding is science supports no zucchini equals danger on other people, right?
Okay.
Grandma walking down the street and stuff like that.
Right.
Other people in your community.
Right.
Then at that point, you could logically get to the position that he's talking about, that it's, you know, my body, my choice. You're impacting other people.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Would make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So the
Mhm.
fundamental disagreement, much like it's whether the fetus carries value, right? That's the
Mhm.
fundamental. That's really what this comes down to.
Right.
Comes down to, is there really, you know, is the zucchini all it's cracked up to be, I guess.
Right. Right.
Is that true? Is that
Right.
true? Right? That's
Mhm.
the real issue. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of times we focus on things that are not the real issue, and that's when we start to get frustrated.
True.
Now, it might be our one fundamental disagreement on the real issue gets people frustrated too. I'm sure that happened. You know,
Yeah.
certainly that happens.
Well, there's not a lot of
They say,
logic too
why? There's
sometimes,
going
you
to be
know.
people, why can't you understand that
Right.
unborn child is a human life? There's going to be people
Mhm.
say, why can't you understand that all the science supports zucchini? Right?
You sure?
There are going to be people who get to that.
Right.
Liberty, we got more here, or Liberty!
Liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, Liberty.
All right, go ahead and
Liberty's
go ahead and play it. I'll tell you if it's
Yeah.
boring.
Well, so
My mic was acting weird. Guys,
Mhm.
go
Mrs.
ahead,
Muty
Russ.
McMudinson.
We're having mic issues today.
Wait, there was nothing else in this. This all started because Pink
Pink
Shirt
lady.
Lady
Okay.
really
Okay.
made me
So we can
upset.
move on? We'll
but
move on.
oh
Move
yeah,
on.
move on.
Or didn't we miss
hold on.
something though? Wasn't there a video we skipped by accident or something in the
Guys,
doc?
Move it along.
Guys,
Yes.
I had a plan. So I want to see Pink Shirt Lady, and then underneath Pink Shirt Lady in the doc is another abortion-esque video.
Okay.
Just a quick one. Just wanted you to play that clip. Another wild opinion out there, and then we go to the other real controversial video. Anyway, in the eyeball holder, just watch and see.
Coming up next, another wild video, according to Liberty.
My analysis of Pink Shirt Lady is that she is a chameleon and she's a sheep. If her opinion is based on the consensus, then she's just a follower. That if the consensus said that yes, fetuses have moral value, her opinion wouldn't be what it is right now. She has the spine of a noodle.
Oh, well, so it's
actual-
basically whatever everybody else says is cool.
Yeah, whatever everybody else
it's
says,
kind of like
I
the
don't
other
think
one,
she
right? Kind of
says.
like the other video who said, let the,
Yeah.
the lawyers.
Give me
and the
some
judges
lawyers and
decide."
judges to think for me. Please
Yeah,
take
right.
me
We'll just have
and
some
relinquish
coalition of
my
judges and
ability to
lawyers who
think.
make all the opinions.
What if they
And-
decide pink shirts are
Russ,
a felony?
actually, I got this note here from Liberty saying you're supposed to play in at 3 minutes. Is that correct,
Oh,
Liberty?
I don't know. I went with
Go
the
ahead.
timestamp that I was
Guys,
given, and nobody told me to stop.
guys.
Mhm.
That was from remember a couple weeks ago, Mike, you played it and said like we're gonna get into this. We already played that part. It's really the same thing that she
Go ahead.
said. It
And do it.
okay. But
Right.
anyway, this lady, I'm just gonna be honest, like I don't even hear anything past what she says that the fetus is not a sentient being. I mean, I can't believe there's people out there who think that.
Mm.
And it's infuriating. I don't know.
Yep.
It's pretty
A lot of,
heartbreaking.
yeah.
I will say that. It's heartbreaking.
It's a mess. It's very messy these days. Not a
Hold
lot
on,
of
hold on.
agreement.
No,
Yeah.
no, Russ.
All right, you guys ready? You know where you're
No,
going to
no,
go?
no. Yeah. You got to go back to the timestamp. Remember?
I even hit pause and it still played.
Oh,
We got to go back to the old video, and
is
there's
that
like
SpongeBob there?
a timestamp that she gave you around 3 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
On this video?
Yeah. Didn't you see in the doc?
Yeah, but I played it there. We keep going.
You didn't play it at
Also,
3 minutes. You played it at
hey
11.
Mike, I think it would, Mike,
Yes.
guys, I think it'd be great, Mike, if the topic, like the question, you put it in the poll for everybody. Like, I mean, I guess we know everybody's answer, but I would like to hear our audience's response to all the debate questions. Just FYI.
I'm pretty sure we played this part, but let's
Is
roll.
tiny, and the burden on a person to carry a pregnancy and give birth to a child you don't want is enormous. So they're not comparable. I would say the consequences of failing to vaccinate are to cause harm, including death, to people who are alive and who are sentient and who we all agree have value, whereas abortion causes harm to an embryo or a fetus, and we do not have a societal consensus that embryos and fetuses have enormous moral value.
Please think for me.
Got it. Okay.
Should I pause there or no?
So that was it?
That was
so basically she repeated the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Well, that was her opinion on I guess the I don't know, zucchini. Am I getting that right?
Is she saying sentient wrong? It
She's
sounds
saying
funny when she's
sentient.
Yeah, like sentient.
I don't know.
Oh, wow. So far, our voters have said yes. My body, my choice should be the same for abortion and zucchini. So far, somebody thinks that. I don't know. I can't tell. You can't tell by that question though whether the person is pro zucchini,
right? That's
and
true.
anti-abortion,
because the consensus,
or pro-abortion and anti.
Guys, comparing the two, I guess, is kind of strange. But you have
pro zucchini.
Let's think of
pro-abortion.
Let's think of
or anti-zucchini and anti
fetuses as humans. Okay, thank you.
Zucchini.
Wait, what? How would it work?
Zucchini.
I don't know.
You think it should be the same? My body, my choice. For abortion and zucchini.
Yeah, but there's a third party involved in abortion. It's the child.
We just had this long discussion where you can make the same argument, right?
Okay.
For the zucchini. You're saying if you don't get zucchini, you're putting others at risk.
They'd have to prove that.
Well, it's just that it's the same thing for you'd have to prove that, an unborn child has consensus value in the community.
Okay.
Basically prove that it's a person, right?
So
Russ has laser eyes.
You kind of can, because it will eventually become a person. It will eventually be born if you don't snuff out the life.
As Bill Burr, the comedian. And he's saying, "Oh, it's almost. It would have been a kid, It was almost a kid.
Almost."
He said, "That's like, what if I was baking a cake and I took all the time and put in all the ingredients and mixed it all up and got everything together and I put it in the oven, and 20 minutes in, you take it out and you throw it across the room. Like, what the heck? What the heck are you doing?
What are you doing, man?
What are you doing to my cake?" And the person was like, "Well, that wasn't a cake.
That's not a cake.
It wasn't really a cake.
Yeah, it would have been a cake if you didn't take it out and throw it across the room."
Just a bunch of worthless ingredients.
Yeah.
Get it out of my oven.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
So far we're at 100% where it should be the same on both. So it seems that people are either for being able to refuse the zucchini and get an abortion, or they're against being able to get an abortion, but also against being able to deny the zucchini.
Well, can I throw a variable in there?
Throw it in there, Russ.
Okay, so the people not wanting to get the zucchini, their body, their choice.
Right.
The woman wanting to get an abortion, would she have made a good mother if she's willing to kill her child?
Oh, is that the point? Is that the point? You're not going to be very good at this. Just kill it.
I mean, you make a valid point, Russ, but
No, you don't.
Mike made a valid point too. I mean, not to support the abortion, but just saying they may not be as good of a mother, possibly.
Right.
Yeah,
that's well, that part is true.
Right.
You're probably not going to be a great mom.
Okay, so it comes
You're
down
willing to kill the kid, probably
Right,
not going
yeah,
to be a
probably
great
not.
mom.
Yeah, maybe not
I
as
agree
good
with
as-
you on that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a good reason for
No,
getting it, for
definitely, and
allowing
I wasn't implying that. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't saying that.
That's a fact.
Oh, so okay.
It should be based on personal choice, I suppose.
Oh, you do. So you think that abortion is a personal choice?
I mean, is making abortion illegal going to make it go away? If we made all the guns illegal, would all the gun crime go away? No.
Well, no, that's actually different though, right?
Mhm.
Because every abortion results in the ending of a life.
Correct.
Every person who owns guns does not end a life. There's that step in between. So if you truly believe that an unborn child is human life, then abortion is equivalent to murder, right?
Correct.
So with your logic saying people are going to do it anyway, that would be like saying, well, we shouldn't make murder illegal because people are going to do it anyway.
I'm sorry,
Right.
Mike. Are you advocating for the purge?
No, I think that's the flaw in your logic, because you can't compare it to the gun control issue, because not every instance of gun ownership results in the ending of a life.
Yeah.
Every single abortion stops a beating heart, right?
Right.
Unless no detectable human heartbeat.
And sometimes you ended someone's life who, was doing violent things to you. So there's that. Too, yeah.
How would you like if your mother
Yeah.
ended your life, pink lady? And also, I think I summed it up in the comments, my answer to the response, and Jeremy agrees.
Oh yeah. All right. So let's see what Liberty has to say.
Mhm.
Red face, red face, red face.
Good job, Liberty.
I wonder how many people wish they were aborted.
10 out of 10. I don't know.
How many people wish that?
Okay, so Liberty says, my body, my choice for abortion. No, it's a third party. My body, my choice for zucchini. Yes, you should not have to get it. Liberty says, yes, Liberty.
I don't even
Oh, Jeremy says he couldn't click on the poll.
Oh, something happened. They're suppressing the polls now.
This
This
lady
poll
wants to be able to
suppression.
turn off one of the things that makes a woman a woman. I want laser eyes, but that's also not reality.
Russ has laser eyes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've had those.
That's
since I was-
incredible. I would not think that our audience would
That
take
Russ-
this position.
Oh, I thought you didn't think Russ had laser eyes.
But Mike, I get why they're doing that, because what they're saying is, if you're going to say it for abortion, then you better be able to say it for my body, my choice. But I don't think that they're agreeing with abortion. Does that make sense? It's like, if you're going to
So I'm going to
you-
come out there and say that I disagree with that statement. I think that they are different, so it should not be the same.
Hey guys,
I think that.
Yeah, me too.
Yes,
I have some news on the poll. So
Okay.
I clicked on it, and I guess it fixed itself now. I clicked on no just to see what would happen. Okay, and it went through, and then it backed out, and went back down to 0. And
So it was only letting
then
people
it went,
yes for a
and then
little
it
while?
went back
Something
up
happened.
to what it's supposed to be.
Mm.
So, it was
Wow.
having trouble counting my vote.
All right, so let's go on to this next
80-20
video.
now.
Yeah.
Let's go to this next video, and why don't you tell me the question beforehand so I can put it in the poll again? I like that idea from Liberty.
Yes.
So is Pink Shirt Lady in the lead right now for most infuriating?
Now she's leaning on the chalkboard.
We should send her a mustard award.
She's very comfortable.
Her back's gonna be all full
I
of
don't-
chalk. Doesn't she know that?
What does the consensus say? I'd rather not think. I'd rather have somebody decide for me.
Hang on,
Perhaps
I
some
gotta
judges and
turn my air
lawyers.
conditioner on. I'm getting hot in my studio here. Just give me one moment. Be right back.
Chris is
So why don't we pull up that next video?
Okay.
And
I was gonna ask for...
next video, we need to know the question that's being asked in the video so I can put it in the poll.
Should abortion be legal?
No, it's
No. Okay. What am I? I clicked on video 3.
okay.
One day before the due date.
Yeah, you forgot that part. One day
Oh,
before.
well, listen. This is what it says here.
Okay.
And they they put the stupid disclaimer thing on there. I wonder if our videos.
Oh yeah, so it got flagged. What's the flag say? What does the flag say?
It probably it's like, ooh, want to learn more about abortion? Here, click on the Wikipedia because that's a valid source.
Is your due date tomorrow?
Yeah, it says an abortion is a procedure to end a pregnancy. It uses medicine or surgery to remove the embryo or fetus and placenta from the uterus. The procedure is done by a licensed healthcare professional.
Interesting.
At least we hope it is. I think the timestamp on here was like 3:30.
Yeah, it's kind of your job, Russ.
Oh, okay. I
All
wasn't
right, thank
pretty
you.
sure. Oh, I have this the SpongeBob clip up because that was what I imagined the pink lady arguing.
All right, bring it up.
All right. Hang on.
Bring it up, Russ. Ladies and gentlemen, Russ the producer.
Alleged producer.
Or did the CDC come up or something? What did I miss?
Yeah. Now it talks about how abortion is a
they
medical procedure
explain
done by
abortion.
licensed medical professionals.
Just in case you clicked on an abortion video and didn't know
Removes
what
the
it was.
embryo.
To me personally, because it's like, oh well, there's the heartbeat, but the whole medical side of an abortion is completely different from the choice side, which is like where we're both agreeing.
Right. I'm thinking for another question. So we don't know if it, okay, I'm just going to say this. Abortion should be legal up to a day before the pregnant woman's due date. If that was the claim, what line would you be at?
I mean, if she wants to change her mind, if she doesn't think she's able to raise this child, then I guess it's her choice. I personally don't think that anyone else should be making the choice for her. So that's my stand.
All right, coming back.
1 day before the due date.
Wow.
Could you rephrase the question again, please?
If the claim was abortion should be legal up to 1 day before the woman's due date, what line would you be?
I see. It's a tough, it gets a little opaque.
Does it?
I'm like trying to.
I feel it comes down to the individual. I would never want to dictate a woman's right to choose. That being said, I also understand
This
the
guy's a chameleon
ramifications of,
too.
if it's literally the day before a woman is due to have a child, obviously it seems a little controversial is the word I come up with, but I don't think it's the right word, but operative word. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, I could see my position changing in that circumstance.
How much?
You good?
To the
Are you
slight
sure?
zone, perhaps. I don't know.
Same.
Critically
All right,
thinking.
let's make it
These
that.
are
let's make
college
it that
students,
way.
right?
Okay, sure.
Let's move. If that
No,
is where
they're
you said you
idiots.
would move.
It's a bunch of
I think
dope.
there's a little bit of, you know.
Yeah. If the
Mustard
claim is
eating
now abortion should be
knuckleheads.
legal up to 1 day before the
Becomes
woman's
op-
due date,
You
you would
see,
be on agree.
it says it becomes opaque.
Okay.
Opaque.
Why would you not be strongly agree?
Well, my opinion really is still the same, but it is a little bit more controversial, kind of like.
Yeah. Why?
A little
What is
bit
the
more.
doubt
Are you
that causes
kidding
to
me?
move to agree? What is
A
that?
little more. It's just a little bit
Well-
more. What if the kid's 2?
I'm honestly not sure. Because it's still the same choice.
What if it's the kid's second
Right before the
birthday?
kids in Little League.
If
We need to
someone
go out
was
and ask some of these questions locally.
on the strongly disagree line, what do you expect they would say?
They would say, well, the child is, or the unborn child is alive and is like about to be born. This is wrongful to purposely terminate the individual's life.
Does that reason have any weight in your mind? Any credibility?
I mean, yeah, none of us are standing here like pro kill of babies. Like that's not the point of abortion. The point is,
really?
again, having a choice too. We're not
That
standing
is
here
literally the
wanting
soul.
to.
I feel like when the dog goes like,
Have you seen the line that you're standing on?
yeah.
Oh my
moron.
Wants
Oh my
to
goodness.
There's very little critical
be, like,
thinking
excited
anymore.
about that. So
The moral calculus, the woman's choice vastly outweighs that other reason.
yes.
That's fair.
Hmm.
Great. All right. What?
No, it's not. You don't.
That's fair.
What are you thinking? What causes you not to be over
I
there?
kind of don't even care what this guy says.
Yeah, again, I
He's
wish
a
I could
chameleon.
say this
His
concisely,
opinion is
but
worthless.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah, I guess we're putting the onus on society and how society views these things as opposed to the individual. The reason I shifted over is, again, in this hypothetical, if a woman is due to give birth on the next day, from my cursory understanding of biology, that baby is a person, right? Biologically speaking.
Are you sure?
Therefore, I would strongly agree
I'm
that
not a biologist or anything.
moral to abort a fetus that's so close to being born. Ultimately, I'm not even sure if I'm confident in the slightly agree column, if that's the case.
Are we
But,
sure
yeah,
these are the
it's
higher
something I gotta
educated
think
people?
about.
I'm pretty sure they're not.
Did this game help you guys think about stuff? Think about the question?
Critical thinking. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. What did you think? Any feedback for the game?
I want to hear what people over there have to say. Like, I'm excited to.
Ideally, we have like an ideological diversity, but it's hard to find anybody here.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
yeah, this is good
Oh,
to
wow.
talk about. I think, especially right now.
All right. Well, thank you. Any feedback? Cool. Got to go.
Yeah, no, this was good. I appreciate you guys doing this. Just to gauge.
I feel bad for them because it's almost like, you know, they're willing to.
The last.
They're more willing to move than the people in the other discussion, so I give them credit for that.
True.
But you can just tell that they're petrified of coming out against it at all. You know.
Well, I think we've entered this interesting part or phase of society, especially with these younger college kids, where they're so worried about offending anybody. I was listening to Peter Jordan, I think the guy's name, that psychiatrist guy that does a lot of videos, and
Jordan
and he was,
Peterson?
yeah, that's it. Thanks. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. And he made a really good point that it's okay to offend people, and we need to be able to offend each other. Like, you have to have these conversations where you can offend each other. You know, if you take that out of the equation, then how can you ever learn from each other and find some middle ground? And, you know, and freedom of speech, you're going to offend people.
100%.
I think these people are kind of petrified. Like, even the girl, like, she said, "Oh yeah, it's you know, nobody's advocating for killing babies." While
How do you know she was a girl, Russ?
Okay, let's back up. Let's back up for a second.
Sorry. Are you talking about the girl with the beard, or?
No, I'm talking about the girl with the obvious.
Oh, well, you don't know that she
I
identifies
can't
as a
imagine that
girl.
most Democrats think one day before is okay.
I would hope not. I mean, that's obvious. That's pretty obviously horrifying. That would even, and these late term abortions that happen are quite horrifying.
I think these people would probably not vote for something like that, but they're just afraid to come out there and say something, go against it at all.
I think that's kind of what I was getting at a minute ago, where they're just so afraid of, like, you know, coming across as offensive in any way. And here they are on their college campus, and nowadays, you know, people might see this video and they'll show up at the guy's dorm and pick it outside his window for, you know, a week until he gets kicked out of school. You know what I mean, though?
Or it makes it miserable enough that he wants to leave.
Yeah, they'll be. It's kind of crazy what's going on.
Great. All right, so let's check out the next one.
All right.
That was wild. That was wild.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I almost feel bad for those two.
Yeah, me too.
So
this
the
will be
next
the last
video,
one, then we'll call it a night.
yeah, this next video, actually, we're going to stay on it a little bit longer because it does go from not so heated to super heated around the 20-minute mark. we're not going to watch all 20 minutes, but I did put a variety of timestamps in there, Russ. So we can kind of use that as a guide, but you guys just go with the flow.
Cool. By the way, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already.
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your Uncle Jerry.
Definitely tell Uncle Jerry. And if you haven't watched that episode, check out Uncle Jerry was on recently. For real, for real. Another good episode.
Here we go. Wait.
For you, son.
Oh.
This alone
well-
is interesting to me. Nobody
have
will
more
have a
contact.
conversation about this. Interesting. I'll give someone else the mic and let them question me about this claim. Trans women should be able to compete in women's sports. You want to have that conversation? Nope, too scared. Okay. You want to have that conversation? Nope, too scared. Too scared.
We don't have a timestamp on this, Liberty?
Anybody?
It said 30 to or
wonder where he is.
40, 20 to 40. And
I have
then
a
140.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a lot of timestamps here.
So I wonder what the rules are on this, Mike. Like if you're on the campus, on the college campus as a journalist or
Can you just show up and
yeah, I
have a
wonder how that
conversation?
works. Yeah.
Else's opinion.
Be swayed. Gotcha.
Exactly. Precisely. Now let me go over this.
One of them was
Strongly
a chicken
agree,
and wanted to be
agree,
blurred.
slightly agree, neutral, slightly disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. So I'm going to ask this question and count back to 5, and don't move until I get to go and stand on a line. It could not possibly be any simpler, but you'd be astonished how many people do not pay attention to the rules. Trans women should be able to compete in women's sports. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Okay, we've got 1 disagree, 1 strongly agree. You're on the line. Okay, tell us why you agree.
I agree because trans women should be able to compete in women's sports because they are competing underneath their identity that they very solidly align with, and to deprive them of that is to kind of say that their identity is not acceptable in society.
In society or
Like in sports, that they're not valid. Their
Here we
identity
go
is
with
not
society
validated.
again.
Okay. Do you agree with what she said?
Yes, but that's not specifically why I agree that trans women should be able to compete in sports.
Okay. Why do you think?
I believe trans women should be able to compete in sports because there's specific criterion that trans women have to meet in order to be able to compete under the woman category.
In which sports?
I'm not an expert on all sports.
I'm not an expert either.
But I do know for at least the Olympics, there
What
are
am I, a
requirements for
sports
trans
doctor?
women because when trans women go on not testosterone, when trans women go on hormones, testosterone drops in them. So a lot of the natural advantages they might have being born in a man's body are depleted, like the extra strength testosterone gives
That
you, and
sounds
so on and so
healthy.
forth.
Hold on, press pause, press pause.
I mean, some of them might be, but you've already been developed. You're already.
That's what I was gonna say,
developed,
Chris. You've been a man for 20 years.
Yeah, right. I mean,
would that not have some kind of impactful advantage?
Yeah, it's
I don't
gonna have
know.
an
I'm not a
impact, yeah.
science guy. You're the science guy, Phil. Right? I'm serious. I'm not a science guy. so-
No, I mean, I'm not a scientist by any means, but I do enjoy, as a hobby, reading about that kind of stuff. But yeah, exactly what you said, Mike. I mean, sure. It's interesting because I often wondered if some of these people who transition, if they regret it, because they must feel horrible. Like imagine if suddenly you started taking something to deplete your testosterone and your muscle mass. And I mean, it's hard enough when you're tired, right? Like trying to work
Right.
out. Imagine if,
Think about how many guys are on HRT, hormone replacement therapy,
Exactly.
because they've got low testosterone, whether they're younger or it's later on in life.
Sure.
And when you have low testosterone, I understand there's all kinds of problems with, like you said, fatigue, irritability, and all this other stuff. And when guys get on it, they feel like $1 million. So if you've got it naturally, and you start
Right.
going the opposite direction. But I don't know how that works when they give people those hormones. Do they have some kind of a combination of things that sort of make it more manageable? I don't know.
I wonder if they should just have a completely independent category. So if you've like transitioned from male to female, there could be a category for that possibly.
Well, I mean, and we're going to hear more arguments about this, but not along the lines of what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
My question would be, if the standard has to do with these hormone levels, then could a male with low hormone levels compete in the women's division if he doesn't identify as a female?
Well, it's a really good point. Sure, yeah.
If that's what we're judging everything based on, then why shouldn't a male with lower hormone levels be able to compete in the women's division?
Right.
If that's all that matters, is that all that matters?
Yeah, well, it's a good point. You're bringing
because
up
the only thing
different
is a declaration that.
That's right. That's right.
That
or
I
you
am
just
a
group
woman.
everybody together, or just have no, gender categories.
What do you
and
say?
Whoever
if you got
is
somebody who meets the criteria with the hormones, and you say, they say, I want to compete, but I'm a man. They say, oh, I'm sorry, sir. You have to be a woman to compete. you must declare that you are a woman.
Right.
I am a woman.
I am a woman.
You'll get to
come right this
you
way, madam.
What if you're gender fluid or whatever they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Would that be acceptable?
You'll get to
I saw someone.
Depends on the.
I'm just asking questions here.
Yeah.
Well,
I saw somebody on Instagram identifying as a frog the other day.
I think I saw something like, I don't think it was a frog. I forget exactly. Oh, a cat person, I think.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah.
Go ahead, Liberty.
I think this video, we sort of talked about this before, but the main thing that I got out of this video was just, I think we've all been there when you're arguing with a leftist or, liberal for whatever. You'll see how they, it sounds so bad, but you'll see how they do get, like, more towards the end of the video, when they have come to the end of their explanations or arguments, right? They flip out. So this video is interesting. The timestamps I put, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. So just keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeremy might be a little bit behind, but he said exactly what we said as well. He's going to think we stole it from him now. Because the male has had the benefit of those hormones for however long he was a man, bone density, muscle fiber.
Right. Definitely some differences.
That would seem obvious, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe the hormones. What about the other 20 years?
Exactly.
Anyway, press play.
It's just a messy thing.
Have to be below a certain testosterone level. They have to be on estrogen for a certain amount of time. And even the rule where you have to be below a certain testosterone percentages have stopped cis women from competing in sports.
Press pause.
So
that's horrible. That's
very
horrible. They gotta make this rule about hormone levels. And then you got somebody who is
what is cis women? What is that?
female.
Cis women?
It's
a made-up
female who's
term.
born female.
Please, guys, we're gonna get to this. Just please.
No. But because I'm making an argument that I doubt that these knuckleheads are gonna make. How horrible is that you got a woman who's born a woman who can't compete because of this extra layer of hormone rule?
True.
She's 100% natural, 100% mass. There was this Caster Semenya, I think her name was Caster Semenya, and she couldn't compete. 100% woman, and could not compete because of these hormone levels.
That happened, you're saying?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, but it was totally natural.
Totally natural.
Okay. Yeah, I mean everybody's
Totally
different,
natural.
so that's why some people are naturally more athletic. Yeah, like Russ.
It's an unfair advantage.
That's right.
That's the unfair advantage if you're born that way.
Yeah. Although Russ is pretty strong. You're not a small boy. If you hit the weights, you'd be a beast.
Yeah.
That poor lady.
I've
That obsessed me for the lady. That obsessed me for the lady who can't compete now.
You guys would be very amazed at how difficult it is to actually buy weights, like to go to Walmart or whatever and actually purchase weights.
They're hard to find right now, you mean?
Nonsense. What are you
Apparently,
talking about?
everyone and their dog wants to have a home gym of their own.
Well, what are you looking for?
Well, I got my own weights because just ones that I got.
Like your own brand, like Russ the producer weights, or
Russ the producer weights made out of concrete.
Right. He pours them in his own backyard.
I've been able to find them, but I had to go, like when I got my set of 25s, I had to go to 2 different Walmarts. I got an adjustable dumbbell.
The horror.
Oh, you got the adjustable ones. Which brand?
I had to go to 2 Walmarts.
Their Cap brand. So like,
how do you like them?
Their weights. what I don't
Oh
understand.
no! Sometimes
They're
the adjustable
comfortable?
dumbbells they don't they handle awkwardly and stuff like that. I have had
Oh no.
Like
So
those square
there's
ones are a little
definitely
weird.
a difference with adjustable dumbbells.
yeah, so you spin the I don't know, it's a wing nut, but it's like more sides than a wing nut. You spin that off, you put the weights on, you spin it on until it's tight, and
Oh, one of
you
those.
do the
Gotcha.
other side, and it's a dumbbell.
Gotcha.
So I was able to find
a
a
little
bunch
more
of
old fashioned because they get the
I
ones now
remember
where
those.
you know a couple of clicks and it's
Yeah.
adjusted, and you got to be careful with those because some of them are very awkward to handle.
I think I saw a weight set that it had like a bunch of weights, and you twist the handle based on what weight you want, and then
Exactly.
you pick it up.
Mhm.
And I think
Exactly.
those are, I forget what are they, the Bowflex brand.
Bowflex brand has them.
I have the I think
Nordic
they're the
Track
Bowflex
makes
ones.
them. There's a
And
bunch.
they have
of
the
different brands.
dial on the end. to
Yeah.
rotate the
Yeah.
ends.
Yeah.
That
I've
way
got
you can make
ones-
them
There's like
awkward.
a pin on the top on mine. They're made by Gold's Gym. They don't even make them anymore. They're my favorite though because they feel just like regular
They're like
dumbbells.
square. They were the square ones, right?
The square ones are the power blocks.
Oh, power.
Those
Okay.
like if
Those
you
seem-
had put
Hmm.
you've seen those the
I've
power
seen
blocks?
them. Yeah.
The power blocks are I think they handle awkwardly personally.
I was going to
don't
say I
like
remember
those.
trying those and they were a little weird. Yeah.
But I guess the Gold's Gym ones that I'm talking about, they are square too. But they're not surrounded on all sides. They feel
Mhm.
just like regular dumbbells. You don't have to wedge your hand in the middle of a power block. Anyway, keep it going. We're going off track here.
I also have a barbell.
Oh.
That rules. There's no
Cis woman meaning what?
cis woman.
Yeah, what is that?
All right, I'm gonna make a prediction. This is the last time I'm gonna interrupt this. I believe she had her face blurred because she held one position and will change her mind eventually and doesn't want people to know.
I was wondering what was going on there. Yeah.
I think that's a blur of a
She
coward.
realized that she looks like such a moron. She couldn't possibly let that to get out.
Yep. I think it's a blur of the coward. That's my prediction.
Go ahead.
Anybody opposed? Say aye.
Aye. No. What are we saying?
Let's play
Way to
it.
go, Chris. 10 out of 10. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Women who are born as women.
Women who were born as women. Okay.
Cis women, yes.
So all women.
Cisgendered is when you're born in the correct sex. So like I was born a woman, I identify as a
there's
woman
a
still. I'm
correct
cis.
one.
If I were to identify as
Confirmed, women
non-binary
are
or
correct.
anything else, I would not be cis. How you gonna ask this question and not know what cis means?
Well, cis isn't in the question, and what cis might mean to you, that doesn't mean that people watching this are going to know what cis means.
Things are a definition. Things mean things.
Things mean
Cisgender
things.
means one thing. That's just.
Is it possible that some people could define or perceive the word women to be different?
Well, I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about the term cisgender.
Yeah, so I think it's important
I
that we
thought things
define our
mean
terms.
things.
That's why
Things mean things.
I
I
wanted
thought
you to
things
define
mean
it.
things.
Yeah.
You think
They
it's
mean
unfair
other
for me to
things
ask you to
that's not
define it?
okay.
No, I just don't. It sounded like you didn't know what cisgender was, and I was just wondering if you didn't know that was why you thought you should ask that question.
Oh no!
How dare you ask a
actually-
question if you don't know how to define?
I'll tell you
something?
what.
Dare
Right.
you ask the
Scholar.
Oh, perfect. then.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
dingus?
I don't mean to brag, but I've really outpublished almost anyone in the world in gender studies.
You do need to back a little bit. That is impressive.
Thank you. I'll show you my body of literature later. But for now, trans
messing
women
with
should
her, I
be
guess?
able to compete in women's sports. What do you think about that?
I do not think they should be able to do that.
Okay. Did anything that they persuade you? Think about that for a second, but tell us why.
I just think the biological makeup of a man is not the same as a woman, whether they take hormones or not, especially if they've been competing in that sport for years. They did it originally as a man or woman, and then they switched to female, which I played a female sport growing up.
What did you play?
Lacrosse, which is very different.
That's the
from-
one with the thing, the
with the
net,
stick,
with the
yeah.
like that.
which is very different from
With the stick.
male lacrosse. So I just think that it comes down to the biological makeup of like the training used for it and everything. But I agree with a lot of the stuff that they say. I'm not like they shouldn't do it, but I just think it should be.
So you think, and I just want to make sure I get your argument right. You think that they shouldn't do it because it confers an unfair advantage on the person, even if they've met their hormone requirements, because as a biological male ages before they transition, they have certain intrinsic advantages. Height, for example, maybe in basketball, or now that doesn't mean all men are tall, but on a Gaussian curve, it means that more men are tall than women.
Yeah.
So is that, I don't want to mischaracterize. Is that,
Yes, that's what I mean.
did that persuade you?
I would say no, because we have talked about like the hormones and like the genetic makeup of a male body versus a female body, but there are changes that can happen whenever someone starts to transition.
Oh, press pause. So you shrink? Is that what is she alleging that you shrink?
You usually lose about 6 inches of height, right?
There will be shrinkage.
It's like they put you in the dryer for too long.
Yeah.
But I also disagree with the woman who's arguing against transplanting the sports, because she's saying it's because you played sports with the other gender your whole life. I don't think that's what does it. I don't think the level of competition is the problem.
No.
I think, you've had the hormones of that one body for a lot of years, presumably.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason, like if we were just to look at it purely empirically, you want to say science, at the numbers, like runners, for example, or swimmers, like the times are significantly different between the genders, right?
I suppose. I mean, I'm not heavily involved in running or swimming, but if I had
But
to
like
bet
Mike
money,
Phelps,
if you
for
told me
example,
tell me right now, bet money who's got all the world records and how close is the fastest woman. I bet that there's a pretty wide gap there.
Yeah, that's exactly
where I'd
it.
be putting my money if you forced me to do it right this second.
You got to do it right now.
Back it up? No, but
how much you putting down?
More than happy to be proven wrong. If somebody wants to show me that, women are generally faster and can swim better and everything like that.
Yeah,
I have a different opinion.
Go ahead, Russ.
I think it should depend on the sport, or it should just be a free for all. Where
so if it's like
on the same
chess, you mean like if it's chess?
Sure. I don't know if there's.
Well, I saw something interesting that said that the top 10 or 15 or something like that chess players in the world are all male.
Mm-hmm. That would make sense.
Did you ask if they identify as male, though?
I forget where I saw it, and
I think though that men
I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then let me know.
And I'm making that comment that it might make sense just because it seems like more men play chess though too. I don't.
That could be
maybe I'm wrong about
Women just
that,
think
but
chess is stupid and boring.
yeah, I never really got into it. I don't know.
But yeah, should it be all on the same playing field?
Yeah, women can't play chess. Women shouldn't be playing chess. It's a real man's game.
Right.
Well, we had a similar debate in high school, the high school that I went to, but it was concerning Title IX and the sports thing, and I was arguing against it because in a sport like wrestling or anything where there's contact, so for wrestling, where do you grab a woman to put her on the ground? If you grab too far north, that's a problem. If you grab too far south, well, that's off limits.
Well, you're also not trying to grab a guy's junk. It's not just
well,
the guy that you can.
No guy is going to be like, he got a
there.
handful of my boob.
It's not like just because the guy you can fool around down there.
Well, no, below the belt is off limits in almost every sport.
Yeah.
But like too far north on a woman, that's a problem.
Well,
and you could get your name dragged through the mud, right? Like,
wow.
He got a handful of my boob.
I do.
That's an assault. That's
I do
a
feel
problem.
differently about that than a guy competing in the women's division, right? Are you talking about a woman competing in the guys division, or are you saying just everybody all mixed up together?
Everybody all mixed up together.
Well, it seems like that would be more fair than allowing certain people to compete across lines, right?
Well, it would also make the sport incredibly boring.
I think some of the
only
colleges
place that would be okay to hit would be the gut.
I think some of these colleges are offering contactless wrestling now, though.
I hear it's online wrestling.
They only make contact with balloons. We got Patience checking in. Says, "Hi, Mike. Hi, Chris. Finally catching you guys live."
Hey now.
Hey now.
Wait, why is
Hey,
live in
patience.
quotes? We're live.
Yeah, we are absolutely 100%
What are
live.
you
We're
trying
live.
to tell us?
I
What are you
wouldn't be
trying
able
to
to
tell
read
us?
that on the air if we were not live.
That's right. Hey now.
So we are certainly live.
What are you accusing us of?
Is that someone we've seen
Calvin
before?
and Hobbes is their profile pic?
Seems like a new name.
Carry on. It is a new name. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Welcome to the program.
When I first went to college,
Don't forget to subscribe, Patience.
How many times did you go?
in a gender studies class or whatever,
Yeah.
I remember all the women in the class, very liberal, thought, hey, we should all be equal with men, completely in every utterly way. And I remember just the thought came to my mind, and I was like, okay, I said, everybody raise your hand that's a woman in here that would go to the front line and fight for this country on the front line. Like, you want every single thing the same. Would you go fight on the front line? And nobody
Operation
raised
Hide
their,
Behind the Women.
That's
nobody
a
raised,
good question.
nobody raised their hand.
Nobody? Not
You
one?
No, because the percentage of females who are willing to do that and or we're just not built for that. I'm just going to say it. Like, how many female football players are? Yeah, sure, we can have a female football team, but if you ask me to go up against a 300-pound linebacker or whatever, or 260, I mean, as tall as I am and as big as I am, the Viking woman I am, it ain't going to happen.
What if you had your horns and a shield?
Right.
And
If
the
you had your
Viking-
uniform. Yeah.
The Viking women did go fight men, but you got to be willing to crack some bones. I mean, you got to sign something that says, hey, I made fight with this and I'm going to do it anyway.
You got to sign a contract that says, yeah, I want my bones cracked.
You know, Ned, there is this push for having women in baseball as of late.
Oh, is there?
Sure, why not?
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if they're able to play, then fine. I think the best person for the job is what makes this country great. That's the way sports is supposed to be.
Baseball, you're not like tackling each other too, so it's a little different.
They're not.
You're not. I mean, we've still not had somebody who's been in the big leagues.
Seriously?
But I think that's kind of the point. Like, same with the front line thing. It's like the amount of women are such a small percent. They're going to probably have to work much harder.
I think in my class they said something about which women want to go to the door in the middle of the night. I think that was the question. I didn't see anybody raising their hand.
Well, but even as strong as you are, I mean, you have to probably work twice as hard if you're women to compete with the men. And even if a woman goes to baseball, let's have at it. Let's send every top softball player. Let's see how they compete and go from there.
Right.
It's an individual thing, I believe. But I also think that there are inherent differences. Period. It's just not enough. If you had all these women versus all these men, there's probably maybe one or two that can really, really, really compete, and the guys don't have to go a little bit easy because you can't in the military. That's why I use that example. You can't go easy. Life, they're on the line.
Right.
Let's press play.
All right, here we go.
Excuse me.
And affect their muscle density, just like their overall genetic makeup. Well, not their genetic makeup, but like their hormones and just how their body functions. So I don't know if that is like completely valid in arguing this.
What if I could provide you with evidence that even with the hormone replacement therapy, that still conferred an advantage on people born as men?
That it wouldn't give them
it would even if they underwent hormone therapy, it still was an advantage for the trans woman to participate in sports. Would you then be for it or against it?
I would be open to revising my opinion.
That's fair enough.
Evidence presented on that.
So you would be open to revising, and would you be open to revising your opinion to go to the agree or the slightly agree?
Slightly agree, but I don't think I would go any farther than that.
Even if it confers an unfair advantage, tough.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that in a second. So just to be clear, I don't want to put words in your mouth. If you were to be shown evidence to your satisfaction that people born as male who transition, who met the requirements of whatever lacrosse or
still have an
what?
unfair advantage.
Yeah, if you were to be shown that they would still have an unfair advantage, you would be willing to move one, possibly two, but not three. Is that what you said? Is that fair to say? Okay, if you were to be shown that advantage, would you move?
Probably not.
Okay, what would it take for you to move?
Nothing, probably. I feel pretty strongly about this. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Even if you were to show me proof that people born as men who transition as women still have an unfair advantage, I would believe that full-heartedly. I wouldn't try to dispute that if I saw the facts behind that.
Yeah.
However, sports inherently have genetic advantaged players.
Not that kind.
Yeah. He didn't produce lactic acid. He had an abnormally large wingspan. He had webbed toes and webbed feet. And that was not him competing. That's an unfair genetic advantage.
Who's she talking about?
We don't care about genetic
Michael
advantages.
Phelps.
Michael Phelps, who's apparently has webbed toes and webbed.
Does he? Is that true?
I don't know. Look it up while we watch
that up.
Until it's someone transitioning from a man to a woman or a woman to a man.
I have to call you. I have to push back on that. I have personally never heard anybody concerned about people transitioning to a man competing in men's sports. Have you?
No, that's also another problem. Why are we so focused on trans women and not trans men as well?
Well, I
think,
and
it's an unfair advantage.
Yeah,
it should be.
That's why.
It should be. Well, but that's what I'm saying. No one really cares about it being an unfair advantage, or we wouldn't basketball.
I'd say the people competing care about unfair.
Yeah.
There are some people
That's
who
the whole
care.
discussion is about.
Guys, I'm not a sports doctor, but
Is there a
if somebody has an
discussion
unfair
without that?
advantage-
Is there a discussion without an unfair advantage? Isn't that the whole point of the question?
It's not fair. You came prepared with answers. So you have an unfair advantage, jerk.
Well, I think she's a good example of people who are just totally set in their ways, in their beliefs, and they're not going to budge, even if there's new facts presented. Right?
Oh man. Liberty says go to the next timestamp.
Well, aren't we at 8:45?
Next timestamp is 10 minutes in, and we're at 9:43.
Well, he does produce lactic acid, but less than his rivals. It says so. She was wrong about that.
All right. So Liberty says go to the next timestamp. That'll be 10:30. Give me a minute.
Why not?
Honestly, I just haven't given that enough thought. I do think there is, some pros to having two separate divisions for men and women. But like I said, honestly, I haven't.
What are the pros?
Honestly, I haven't given that enough thought to have a concrete stance on it that I would want to fully stand
That's
behind
fair.
because I haven't done enough research or thought on it.
That's fair.
Doesn't seem like she.
So you think
about a
that
whole
there
lot.
should be two divisions?
As of right now, before I do a lot of thinking about it, but like I said, I haven't put enough thought to it to give you a clear, firm stance.
Okay, so I'm kind of think through this myself. So the reason, and could be totally wrong, I'm just trying to figure this out myself. So the reason that there are two divisions are because there must be certain categories of things that different sexes are better at, or there wouldn't be divisions in the first place, unless it was just some social convention.
You're not wrong there.
So is it possible to abstract from that and say that reason is what confers an advantage on somebody?
No, because you can have advantages over someone who's also the same gender as you, just as a different gender does. Gender is not the only factor that
Then put them all together, like I said.
an advantage or not. However, it's definitely one that contributes to an advantage you have.
Right. And
Because there was a trans swimmer in the Olympics. She didn't win. If trans women really have a crazy advantage on women, why didn't she sweep? Why didn't she?
Trans women only won the national
Wait,
championship in swimming, right? That's all.
sweep
win all the
Oh, I thought you meant give her a mop and sweep
No,
up.
why didn't she win all the awards? Why didn't she win every race? And why didn't she beat them by seconds? Which is very.
But she did get into the Olympics.
She got into the Olympics. She didn't win, and that's because she's a trained swimmer. That's because she's been training to swim for as long as everyone else has. So it makes sense she got into the Olympics. She's been swimming at that time for her entire career. But like I said, she didn't sweep. She didn't have such a crazy advantage that she was performing way above the ranks of the other women.
So even if it were shown that trans women had distinct advantages, that wouldn't be enough to move you to agree.
Yeah, because like I said, cis woman could have an advantage on another cis woman. So why should I care if a trans woman has an advantage on a cis woman when a cis woman could also have an advantage on another cis
Very
woman?
confusing.
Like the fact that they're trans doesn't really mean anything to me. Like I said, having a genetic advantage can and is a part of sports.
Okay, I think I understand their reasoning, but I'm not positive.
I have a question for them.
Yes.
So do you think that there could be like the women's group, the man group, and then people who are trans have their own category?
Who's the question for? Which one?
Either or.
Yeah, I don't think it's
I feel like those groups would just alienate them even more and just like put them off into a separate category because they don't belong in women or male. They are not being put properly into the groups that they identify with.
I don't know anything about sports, as you know, from not even knowing what that means there, the Sea Falcons or whatever. But my question is then, aren't there rules? I thought there are rules against like shooting yourself up with steroids, aren't there?
Yes.
So when you shoot yourself up with steroids, that must mean you have a competitive advantage. So that's why they don't do it, right?
That shooting yourself up with steroids gives you a competitive.
Well, I would assume, or else there wouldn't be a rule against it.
Yes, there is a rule against using performance enhancing steroids, but I don't think that's on the same level as hormone therapy.
No, that's not where I was going with it. So no, I was going with it. It's possible that there are certain things that one can do to yield a performance advantage.
Yes.
So shouldn't the idea be, and I'm just thinking through this for myself, shouldn't the idea be that we want to level the playing field to take out advantages for different people?
I think like artificial advantages is what you're trying to say. Like,
I'm sorry. I thought you were waving to somebody.
Artificial, like
What does she mean by artificial advantage?
They're a football team from Seattle in Washington.
Yes. Also,
and they play. Who's the
rival?
No, the person who throws the ball.
The QB.
The QB. Who's the QB?
You maybe want to be more about sports before you ask questions about it. No, but okay. To go off her point, performance enhancing drugs are obviously banned. It's because they enhance your performance. However, if you have enough money, you can pay a coach to help advance your performance. You know what I mean?
Okay, it's totally the same. Why didn't Barry Bonds just hire a coach? What the heck? Why did Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire have to take steroids? They could have just hired a coach.
Yeah,
you know
right.
That?
That's all they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, will you be my coach so I can be less fat? Apparently, all I need is a coach.
That's all they need.
All these bodybuilders and all taking steroids. Tell them to hire a coach.
Okay, wait. How does the coach? This is like the mailman problem. Okay, how does the coach get his performance enhanced that people want to go to him to have him as a coach? Right? Does he also have a coach? Who coaches that coach?
The
first coach.
The first coach.
Who's patient zero with the coaches?
God was the first coach.
Right.
There you go.
There you go. Going all the way back.
Programs, it all costs money to access. And by accessing those with money, you also gain an advantage. So it's not like these hormones.
So we should
it's not like
so
because
sports
these hormones
are paid
are
to
only
win.
banned because they're performance enhancing. They're also extremely harmful on people's bodies.
So we should give, if that logic holds, we should give all non-trans women extra coaching to make up for the deficiencies.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm furthering showing that there's already a discrepancy in sports. If you're rich and can pay for equipment, training facilities, a training coach, you're going to do better than someone who can't. And I'm not saying
Like the Russians and like the Russians in cycling and weightlifting.
Yeah, like most people in the Olympics. Most people in the Olympics have access to really good trainers and really good training. And if everyone in the world had access to that training, I don't think the Olympics would look the same. There'd be a lot of different people in there, but they don't because inequities, like I said, are inherently in sports. They're going to be in sports no matter what.
Did that convince you?
I kind of forgot what she said.
So
I think she did too.
basically, the idea is you can't control. There are always going to be certain people who have advantages, certain people have disadvantages, and I don't want to mischaracterize your argument, but the idea is that.
Oh,
All right. Well,
we get somebody
you can
walking
come to the
in.
next one.
Somebody
You go-
walking in late.
All right. Well, I guess not then. Okay. So the idea then is that if you're born to a rich family, you have certain advantages, and if you're born to a poor family, you'll have disadvantages. So there are already inequities built into the system. So why worry about one more inequity? I think that's what she was saying.
That's
I
why
think
most of the best
comparison
athletes of all time are poor
the
people.
like
That's true.
wealth or someone or the advantages
More
that
motivation,
they have
maybe.
are completely different than like people getting things like hormones and stuff like genetically in them versus like being able to pay for a facility or something.
How does it make you feel if you compete against, for example, in lacrosse?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel if you compete against someone born biological male? Do you think it's like you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth. How does it make you feel?
I would think it'd be unfair, especially if that male came from playing men's lacrosse.
Can I ask you what would seem like a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask anyway?
Okay.
What's wrong with it being unfair? Life is unfair. Some people are born with like no legs.
I mean, that's true that life is unfair, but it's like it's the sport of lacrosse, specifically what I'm talking about, where there's the men's and the women's, and a lot of sports are very different, men and women wise. And obviously, it's not always fair, but
She
it's
must be a sports doctor.
equally
Yeah.
as fair when it's all women versus like the other side being all men versus all men, all women versus all women. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, but I'm not sure it makes sense to them. Hi, you just joined.
Well, I have just a quick sentence.
Okay.
They're gonna say some things. In response to that, if a girl went to a middle or high school where they didn't have a big sports fund and she played on the male lacrosse team and then transferred to a school that had a girls and boys lacrosse team and then she chose to play on the girls team after playing on the boys team, no one would care. No one would care because she's cis. They only care because she's trans. No one really cares about.
No, that was just a bad argument.
Yeah, it's a bad
level
argument,
of
yeah.
competition. The level
Right.
of when she said that the level of competition is the difference. That's not true. That's
Yeah,
not what it is.
yeah.
She made a bad argument.
Right.
Yeah, that was a terrible argument.
Bad argument.
That's you go to a middle or high school that you didn't have a choice, and then you
Mhm.
transferred to one where you did. Like
No, I'm
that's
saying that the girl on the other side who said that the fundamental difference is that you get to play against men for your whole life and then you go ahead and play against women. That's the advantage. That's not the advantage. The level of competition is not the advantage.
Mhm.
It's the
Yeah.
physiological differences. Yeah. No?
I don't think she really described the difference between men's and women's lacrosse though. She just kept on saying that they were different.
Yeah.
Because guys are playing one and girls are playing the other.
I mean, I guess there's that. Maybe the guys fling the ball harder or whatever. Do they use a ball?
If
Yeah.
I had to think, yes.
Do
Now,
they use
with
a ball?
softball,
Is it a puck?
it's interesting though because with softball they shorten up the measurements, and you got them throwing the ball underhand from really close.
Yeah.
It looks like 100 miles an hour.
Right.
And so if you put guys against girls in a softball game and the guys are not used to it, girls could end up smoking the guys.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's
Still a
played
level of
differently.
practice and competency
Played
and all that.
differently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good.
All right.
A girl and then you play the woman version later. They only care when you're trans.
Yeah.
Who's
the
they?
The transness of this all.
You know, they.
Really, when people get strung up.
If that were to be the case where I played a male sport and then went to a female sport, I did not pump hormones in my body to genetically get me to a better place than playing with males.
Hi. You do know. Hi. You do know that's what birth control is for, right?
What?
To pump estrogen. But a
She
lot
says
of
I'm not on birth control. is what
estrogen
she
into
says.
your body so that you're actually physically able to do things. And the point of a competitive sport is to be genetically better than the other person. Take the
point
Olympics,
of a
for example.
competitive
There are cis women that are better than other cis women because they are genetically made to be that way. And putting natural hormones in your body, I hope you know that you as a cis woman also has testosterone in your body as well as estrogen and progesterone.
How do you know she's a cis woman?
Are you a cis woman? Okay.
I didn't know that.
What does that mean again?
As
You have like a gaydar for cis women.
I do, because I'm not a cis woman and I know what cis women look like and act like.
Oh God,
Am
dude!
I a cis woman?
Press pause. In any other
I'm not
context,
cis-
right? In any other context, if you'd make the comment that she just made,
She must be a biologist.
I'm
scientist,
not
yeah.
I know what a cis woman looks like because I'm not a cis woman. I can tell what they look like. And that's if you said that in any other context, right?
Jeez. I still don't even know what is a cis woman, like a what we would consider a
Just
standard
plain
woman.
old- just
An
drop,
actual woman
yeah,
who is
just drop cis. Just anytime you hear
And
something,
it's a
just
woman.
drop cis from the entire word,
Okay,
and it means
okay.
what you think it means.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that.
It's just a regular
Yeah.
garden variety woman.
Yeah. Well.
Good.
Ready?
Getting crazier every month.
Should I go? Yeah.
You got it.
Go. Hit play. Yeah. Okay.
Woman, but if you're a woman, that's okay.
No, I'm a man.
Okay, hello. What are your pronouns?
Lol. Your Royal Highness.
I need time to think.
All right, no problem. Anyways,
You will address me as your
sports,
Royal
that is
Highness.
the entire purpose of competitive sports. And you just trying to justify your transphobia with the fact of being genetically
Transphobia.
better.
There you go.
Now she's accusing the moderator. No?
Personally, I think they should have their own league. That's just me, though.
In like
In all sports.
all sport, like a separate category, and anybody
Like
can.
chess.
I think there should be like male, female, trans woman, trans man.
So are you? Yeah. Yes, of course.
I do want to say my opinion does not mean I'm transphobic at all.
What does that word even mean? I don't. What does that word even mean? What does that word mean?
What do you mean? What does that word mean?
Well, if she says to you,
scared of peanut
if I
butter.
say to you, "What is this?" and she says a blah blah blah, and I say, "What do you mean?" They give me the definition. So, like, what is the definition of transphobia?
Transphobia is when you exclude trans people. Transphobia is when you do not believe that trans people
Exclude them
are
from what?
the identity they identify with.
Sports?
Transphobia is hatred towards trans people. Transphobia is
We all
prejudice
agree on
against
that.
trans people. That's what
actually not
transphobia
what it
is. And thinking that trans athletes should not compete with regular athletes in their own separate league is transphobic.
Okay, so do you need all three
Oh,
of those
that's
criteria
transphobic.
to be met?
No, you don't. No,
You need
don't.
one.
Yes.
So if I believe, I just want to make sure because you used the term and it's very important that we're all on the same page. So if I believe that a person who was born a man who has not had bottom surgery, who got arrested, should go into a woman's prison, who should not go into a woman's prison, am I a transphobe?
That is a completely different question. And I
Why?
don't even,
Why?
It's
Yeah, why is it
excluding?
different? Yeah.
but I don't even know your
Treating
reason.
differently.
Well, it's exclude. So I'm trying to figure out what the word transphobe means.
By asking me a completely hypothetical question when I
No, by
gave
asking
your
you,
definition.
well, you gave me definition, but it meets the first one, so that would seem under your definition it's transphobic.
Right.
You have a definition. Okay,
We're
hold
not
on,
using
hold
a
on.
Google definition. Hold on. This pisses me off. We're not using a Google definition.
go.
Hold on. We're not using a Google definition to describe transphobia.
We're using
Because this is
mine.
exactly like when you say white people can't be racist and they pull the definition of racism and they're like, oh no, but here it says racism is blah 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 blah. Google definition can literally not define something that you literally have spent years studying. Because you're a gender studies major, right?
Wow.
Not a
Wait,
major.
I thought she said things
One of
mean
the world
things.
foremost
She did.
experts
Leading
in
gender studies.
not leading. I'm in the top 10.
Okay, not leading then. Not you're.
Oh,
you're
I
not
guess
a
that
leading
makes your
world gender
opinion
studies,
just null
a
and
gender
void.
studies. But that proves that you've literally studied this. Like this is a field that can be studied.
Not only have I studied it, I've
Yes, I know.
outpublished virtually everybody in my field
Yeah,
in a
but not
10-month
leading.
period.
Yeah, but
True,
not
not
leading.
that's true. That's a fact. That's in fact.
So,
Thank you.
but hold on. But
She just said
that
you
is
can't
true.
define
So
transphobia.
you spent a lot
Why
of your
would you
lifetime
want
studying this
to?
field.
What a
Yes.
mess.
No,
Yeah.
about 3 years.
Okay, but you spent multiple years studying this field.
Yes.
Would you say it's a complex field?
Yes and no.
So but you published multiple pieces of literature on it. Obviously, it's not a one done thing. If I could just go onto Google
and Google does a bunch of different definitions, then what's the point of studying something? The point of studying something is because it's nuanced, because it's rooted in a lot of history. Google Translate, Webster Dictionary
Is it falsifiable?
That's not my point right now. That's not my point right now. My point right now is that you cannot take a cumulative history of a nuanced topic and put it into one sentence in Webster Dictionary.
Google
Can't define
Dictionary.
it, but I thought things mean things.
Google uses Webster.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to speak to these two directly.
Okay.
When I called you a transphobe, I meant it. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's an underlying bias towards trans people that you really need to work on.
Oh,
And I'm not-
What is that?
What is an underlying bias?
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I mean exactly what I said, that she has an underlying bias. It's not very difficult to
Wow.
understand.
What does the word mean? The word.
Okay. Pretend I'm stupid. What does it mean? Like, so when I say I have when someone says they have an underlying bias, that could mean a subconscious bias. It could mean that they don't act out. Like, what does that mean?
Okay. I thought I was supposed to pretend that you're stupid. Okay, here we go.
In other words, explain it in a
Yeah.
way that is crystal clear so that anybody watching this will understand.
Okay.
Because we have people watching
Any
this of all
stupid
ages, all everything, who are trying to figure this out for themselves.
Wait, I have a question. What the fuck is the point of this? Like, what is
Ah.
What is the goal of what?
Yeah, what's the goal of this? Of us talking? Like, what is your
You
goal?
can
Build her out. Build
My
her
goal
out.
is to figure out if the lines you're on are the lines that you should be on the basis of the reasons you have.
So you don't even care about, like, adding to the narrative, understanding social consciousness, or like social feelings towards this question. You
Here we
just
go
want to
with
know
society
if
again.
That's
we
the
get the
way.
facts right
Right.
enough to
Press
be on the
pause. Press
No, it has
pause.
nothing to do with that.
The whole point of having a productive discussion is not adding to a narrative, like she said.
Yeah, right.
You're not supposed to have a goal in mind. And we're gonna use this conversation to further one point. It's supposed to be a plain old discussion, and you're
Yeah.
hearing from people on all sides, and you're trying to figure out, what's the most well reasoned.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That some people in this
Formulated
younger
opinion.
generation don't seem to like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she definitely bailed her friend out because her friend was stuck right there.
Right,
He's
right.
asking, explain it to me. That's what got the guy in Denzel Washington in Philadelphia says. Explain to me like I'm 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you really understand something, you could explain to anybody. You
That's
really
right.
break it down.
Yeah, you have to be able to do
I'm
that.
wondering if Mike could do a poll, and I don't know if it's too, I don't want to spark anger, but it's like, I'm curious if anybody in our listener audience has ever encountered somebody on the left who just goes to that, who just goes to like, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe, you're, when they have no argument left.
Yeah.
Like they go to heat. They go
It
to
happens more now.
calling, go to calling names. It's horrible.
I'm an
They like to project that
istophobe.
onto you too,
Yeah.
without any
I'm
real
going to say a
proof.
phobe or ist.
I'm an istophobe.
Yeah.
I have a fear of ists.
Crazy.
I'm all the ists and all the phobes.
All of it.
Yep. Even the contradicting ones.
Right.
All of it. All at the same time.
All
Fight
of
me.
it.
Fight me. I dare you. Change my mind.
All right, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Towards this question, you just want to know if we get the facts straight enough to be on the correct line.
No, it has nothing to do with fact. Well, it's a little to do with facts, but it doesn't really have to do with facts. It has to do with reasoning.
So you're just curious on individual reasoning.
Yep.
I'm curious to know. So let's say, for example, I was standing here in the neutral, and I heard these reasons, and I heard this reasons, and let's just say, to the best extent possible, I'm sincere, I'm honest, I try to think for myself. I'm not really well read, but I'm a little well read. I listen to what you have to say. I listen to what they have to say. Where should I go? I have no dog in the fight. I'm trying to figure out what's true.
Us trying to convince each other, like, what is your goal? Because right now, because I don't know what you're adding.
Nobody's.
to, like,
You're the
this
only one's mad.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. I'm adding nothing.
So then why
She's
are
mad
you like?
'cause she's stuck.
Because like this question just opens up the floor for like transphobic people to spread transphobic rhetoric. So like, why would you do that? Like, what is the point of this?
I don't know.
Why would
Why
you
are you
risk
here?
adding transphobia to the world when like you just like didn't need to?
Yeah,
Do you think
shut up.
these
Don't have a
questions are better off not
conversation.
talked about?
No, I think they should be better facilitated.
What could I do to facilitate the question better?
Well, have a clearer goal in mind. Like I've asked you, like, what's your goal? Your goal is just nothing. Like, no one's going to
Why
convince
do you
a
have to have
transphobic
a
person
goal?
that trans women should be able to compete in sports. If they were going to be convinced of that, I should have already been convinced by that. It's been a big topic.
It's your
Clearly,
job
I'm not
to
going to change my
convince
mind because I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, like let me be transphobic real quick. Like, you don't have a good goal.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you convinced that her definition of transphobia is like to say that the exclusion thing was the thing that got me?
Like if her definition of transphobia is correct?
No, it can be anything anybody wants it to be. It can be a pastrami sandwiches if someone wants it to be.
I feel like. Could you rephrase your question?
Yeah, so she gave 3 criteria.
It could be a pastrami sandwich if someone wanted it to be.
Anybody can define anything the way they want to define it.
No.
They can't define anything they want.
Triggered. Pastrami sandwich. That's a joke. Like that's literally a joke.
Why not?
Like I'm sorry, that's a joke.
Why not? Give your
Anybody
reason.
can define anything.
You said you can't define it.
No, that's not how words work. Words have meaning.
But she tried to look it up in Google. And you told me
You just said nobody could define it.
Right.
What a dingus. No wonder
My
her face is
point
blurred.
in that was that Google definitions cannot adequately describe and explain such a nuanced topic. I didn't say it can't be defined. I just said that Google definitions wasn't
No,
going to have
Google, you're not allowed to define pastrami
So how do we decide? Who can then?
Or,
Who decides?
and I don't think there's
Who
ever the
defines?
most
Me.
definitions when it comes to nuanced topics. However, you can't just be defining words however you want. And you know that for a fact. There
As she gave
colloquially
definitions.
things mean things.
But then you can define genders however
We
you
all know
want.
what that shit means. You cannot describe it as a pastrami sandwich. There is very
Why
clear
not?
parameters that you can work within.
She put
It
the
might be
emphasis in the
put
wrong
together
syllable in
nuances,
pastrami.
but the
Pastrami.
Like you can't just describe anything as anything.
Right.
Words have meaning for a reason.
like man and woman.
Correct!
Like I don't see. You keep trying to get people like caught up. What is your point?
Thug life.
Just drop
I
the
need,
mic.
I need a better
You just want
soundboard
to try
with
to
sound
catch us in a
effects.
contradiction, and you have literally no reason
You
to
have
be doing
literally
this
done that.
whatsoever. You're trying to prove a gotcha. Ooh, you have no idea what you're talking about, silly liberals and your silly trans people. Instead
your
of just
words.
not being a dick.
I know you guys are like, what's the point of it? My point for coming over here and participating in this is because I'm very open-minded and I like hearing other people's points of views, and I'm not very I don't just shut people down when they have an opinion and start calling them names. I'm not here to promote transphobia at all. That does not say, are you transphobic or not? In no way am I transphobic. I'm just stating my opinion, trying to have an equally conversation of a debate where we can just say how we feel and move on with our lives. I don't think anyone should be attacking anyone.
Did you agree with what she said?
Oh, absolutely.
You want to add, or if not, that's okay too.
No, but I think people's emotions get really heightened during topics like this.
Yeah.
Just because emotions are heightened doesn't mean points shouldn't be listened to, because I see both of you. None of you are listening to our points. You're turning to each other, you're whispering, you're laughing, and I see both of you. Don't make that face, because I literally see what you're doing. I'm not an idiot. And second of all,
Oh, really? Can you define idiot?
Because
You can't just define that. Words mean
Oh, I
things.
completely agree. I'm just adding to it. So transphobia is systemic. There is a system set
Wow.
in place
Way to
to
go.
put trans
Define
people
systemic.
down, to kill them, to put them in prison, and to completely
Kill
eradicate
them.
And
Whoa.
in
You
your-
can't play in
your-
sports,
in your
so we're
district-
killing you.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not,
being
not
able to
playing
compete
in any
in
sports.
Seems
but
like they're
this
able to do a fair amount.
That's
We
systemic.
think that there's unfair
idealism.
advantages. for-
And when I say that
Yeah.
you're a transphobe, that's something in yourself that you do need to work on, because that
Can you
is
define that? Can you define that?
what underlying.
No, that I got from what you said. I thought your explanation was excellent. A transphobe, because I got her definition. What's yours?
Transphobe is what I said. So transphobe is someone that is adding to a system to put other trans individuals down, whether it be conscious or unconscious. There's some sort of bias that you definitely do need to work through and actually listen to something we're saying. It doesn't matter if we're getting heightened in emotion because we're passionate about something. That should make you want to listen more, and it shouldn't make you want to smirk and act like, oh my goodness, you contradicted yourself. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so let me ask you a
Listen to
question. So
me
you
and
strongly
shut
agree-
up.
Right.
You're cheating, you're off the line, but that's okay. You're strongly agree, and you're strongly agree. What would it take you to move to the agree line? Let me go for. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 because I haven't. Yeah.
You asked me this already, and I told you nothing.
Okay. What would it take you to move to the agree on?
He's like,
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Would you say
Absolutely
absolutely nothing or
Yeah,
nothing?
absolutely nothing.
I just said what I had to say.
Okay.
I would be willing to revise my opinion with, new information that comes out, new studies, new
Dude,
statistics
press
saying
pause.
if there is
Press
actually.
pause.
This is why they're blurred.
I
'Cause they're
would.
like,
Yeah.
no, even
they
if
got
you
done, they're like,
prove
we
me
looked-
wrong, I'm not changing my
like afterward, can
opinion.
you delete that whole appearance? Yeah.
We looked really dumb on that one. Please blur our faces
Pretend I
out.
wasn't here.
You know, unfortunately, like I do want to say this. If we were having a conversation, you showed me, hey, scientifically, everything you know is wrong, and women and men actually are exactly the same, and there's actually
Right.
zero advantage
Right.
of people crossing over and playing sports. I'm all ears, dude.
Yeah, right. I mean, you should always be open.
I'd never say there's nothing that could ever change my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a religion, is
Yeah.
It's not like you're asking me if anything would ever change my mind about believing in Jesus.
Right.
That's not what you're asking me. It's the only thing that would never change my mind.
Mhm.
Never. Only thing. Everything else, I'm all ears.
Yeah, well, it's part of the problem. People are just so set in their own beliefs and opinions in a lot of way. I mean,
Their religion.
yeah,
The religion of the left.
right. There you go.
Go ahead, press play.
All right. I think these women should see a proctologist to get their heads out of their own butts.
Actually a true advantage that trans women have over cis women in sports, but as of right now there's nothing that is prominent, like as in what we know, that would change my position right now.
Why do you think you should be the one to facilitate this conversation when you don't even care about sports?
I know nothing about sports.
Yeah, so you don't care about sports. So why?
Well, that's
Yeah,
not
do you-
entirely
So
true.
why are you here?
Well, wait a
Yeah.
second. Let me answer your question
Why are you
first.
trying to
I
change his
actually
mind?
happen to know a lot about one sport, but it's a very fringe sport.
But you don't care about sports. Sports.
Correct. I don't care about any
So do
sports
you-
with a ball.
Do you care about trans women?
What do you mean?
Do you care about trans women and
Guys,
trans women issues?
right.
And
Like,
protecting
what do you mean?
and protecting trans women. What do you mean? What do I mean? Answer. It's a straightforward question. Do you?
That's actually not a
It's not.
Yeah.
straightforward.
Do you care about trans women?
Because
You
by
about-
care, press pause.
Mhm.
Because everything she's said for the last 30 minutes indicates that her definition of care means like is going to be very different than what
Wants
I
to take 'em
think
home.
most
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah. And you can still care about the individual people.
100%.
Right. You know,
100%. That's the whole. That's
Yeah.
the whole discussion is like, listen, we don't hate anybody.
yeah,
We
exactly.
don't want any harm to anybody.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just
But-
say, it's like actually a psychological tactic. Like if you're arguing with somebody and then you just want to project, like you just want to go against them, you literally turn the argument around on them and start like that's what they're doing now. They're in attack mode. They just keep asking him,
Right.
"What are you doing? What's your purpose? Why are you doing this?" Because they have nothing else to say.
Mhm.
Just because he has different opinions, even asking the questions, they're literally
Right.
like saying like they turn around, they're attacking. This is what
Right.
the
No, they're
left.
very
I've
attacking,
had it happen to
Yep.
me, and this is what they do when they've come to
Mhm.
the end of logic.
Yeah, when they're really losing, right?
They're just
They
so
realize they have
angry.
no idea
They're
what
so
they're talking
angry
about.
about it, you know.
That's and I had a bunch of these girls in my and guys too, but I had a bunch of these girls in college and even in high school. I remember having debates in class with people like this, and it's absolutely infuriating. I think that I left college being most maddened by 20-year-old women who
Mhm.
thought they knew a lot about life because they went to college. I
Right.
couldn't stand that. That's the number one person. Get me as far away from that person as possible.
Yeah.
20, 21-year-old woman who thinks, even the 18-year-olds, right? The freshmen get in there after a
Yeah,
semester.
you know so much more at that
and they
age.
think they know a lot about life because they're in college or they
Right,
went
right,
to college.
right.
And so much so, it was so widely known that I couldn't stand this kind of person, that it just irritated me. That my buddy was in a bar in Manhattan one time, and he met this young woman who was portraying this kind of an attitude, and he's talking to this girl, and he goes, "You know what? I gotta go." She's like, "What?" He's like, "My buddy Mike, he wouldn't like you." And she's like, "What? How do you know your buddy Mike wouldn't like you?" He's like, "You're just one of these girls that thinks you know a lot about life because you went to college."
Wow. Gotta admire the honesty.
There you go.
This ain't gonna work. My buddy Mike wouldn't like you.
Work out. That's funny.
All right, continue on with these women who think they know a lot about life
the-
because they went to college.
The blue shirt girl is really getting on my nerves.
She's pretty effective at that.
Yeah. Well, she's contradicting everything she said.
I can't believe none of us have jumped out a window yet.
I'm almost ready to just smash my computer.
Well, my garage is
Did we deliver on most blood boiling?
Yeah, they're pretty blood boiling.
Did we deliver on that?
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does anyone's blood actually boil?
I think mine did. Yeah, that's why I had to put the air conditioning on.
Look at the veins. Son. Look at the veins.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Russ.
Sparta.
Care about being a good ally to trans women? Do you care about trans women?
She's assigning
I was
motive.
up with you until you used the word ally. I care about so the answer to the first question is yes. And the answer
But
to
you're
the
not an ally
second
to
question,
trans
it depends what you mean.
It depends on what I mean by ally.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think ally means? As someone who's I'm not leaving top, so you don't know what ally means.
No,
But
because
someone
she's
in
gonna
the
say
field,
if you don't,
what do you
if
think
you don't
ally
think, if you think there's a problem with them playing sports,
Often we use words that we think we know what other people
I know
mean
what
by
the word ally means. I'm asking
Right,
ally
right.
because allies, an easy word to understand. Ally means
you guys make no words easy to understand. You
bail
got
out.
your own
it's very
subjective.
You mean biblical?
It means you're older than the Bible. Do you really not know what ally means?
I'm not that old.
Do you really not know what ally
It
means?
depends what you mean. If you mean different people mean different things by ally.
Then come back to me.
Like it doesn't mean somebody
No,
willing
I'm
to
asking you, I'm asking you, what do you think? What's your definition of ally?
So she's calling him old, right? She's got a
Right.
problem with
Very
him
insulting
saying
way
he's-
too. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's saying that he's old. Like making
I
fun
love
of
how
him.
they want to offend people, but they're not willing to be offended.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
He should have turned around and be like, "I'm actually older than the Bible. I sat next
Yeah.
to Moses in 3rd grade."
Right.
Like, yeah.
I still owe Jesus $9.
Right.
Yeah, I owe Jesus money. He was my tutor, dude.
There you go.
I'm more than happy to, yes, I will answer that question. We'll go back to the claim. You have my word. I will answer that question. So I'm just going to wrap up. You have my word. So you guys, there's nothing to get you to change your mind, and absolutely nothing. I want to make sure clear. Is there anything that would get you two to move to the slightly, either to the strongly disagree or to the slightly disagree? Like, is there any piece of evidence that you would have to hear or reason or argument?
I think I would definitely be open to changing my opinion or even just hearing other people out.
So what would it look like for you to move to, you have to play by the rules of the game, which means you have to stand on a line. Yeah. So what would it take for you to move to the slightly disagree? Evidence, reason, data, like what would that look like?
I'm not sure, but I would like to note that I think for a trans woman to compete in women's sports, she has a biological advantage. And then for a trans man to compete in men's sports, she has a biological disadvantage. So I just want to make that point that I do think that's something to consider. And I don't agree with attacking people personally, whether it's that he's old or that I'm sitting here smiling. I don't think that anything to do with this conversation has to do with how you treat other people. And if you're going to sit here and say you accept all people, then you need to sit here and accept all people.
I did not say I accept all people. I don't accept bigots. I don't accept racists.
Old people.
Yeah, old people like you because you're an ass. I accept older people
Wow,
who are open-minded,
great. Wow.
like my
Great.
parents per se, who are actually older than you. And I accept people who are
Parents must be
willing
so
to
proud.
actually open their minds up.
Oh my God.
Open-minded. Okay.
I was hoping
So
she would
you
say
accept
that.
you were accepting of
Open-minded
people
for the
who are
closest
willing to open their minds, but yet you are not willing to open your mind for evidence that would take you to go to the agree line.
I'm not willing to open my mind to be a bigoted piece of shit. No.
So if you think any way other than where
Right,
she's
that's right. That's
is a
right.
bigoted. Trans women should not be able to compete in women's sports. Has transphobic beliefs. Point blank. Period. Trans women are women. Therefore, they compete in women's sports.
So then
like,
drop
that's
the
really
trans
just like the inner
moniker.
conversation. Like, there's really no like, oh, but like, you know, like the boys and then the girls and the testosterone. No, like it's all based in transphobia. So it's not about like
Oh yeah,
me
totally.
believing in. It's
We're
not about
talking
me.
about
You can't
legitimate-
define
It's called, like, I'm saying
transphobia.
this
It
line,
right.
basically
You can't even
doesn't
define
exist.
trans.
This is another good example of how we're just
I
living in
promise, but
multiple realities. You know, there's multiple realities right now on so many different fronts. It's amazing actually how well, you know, the people who are kind of propagating this stuff have divided us.
All right, finish
Yeah.
this out.
Imagine, if
All
you
right.
will.
Yeah, please finish it, Russ, before I
There's a fifth dimension.
before I do something I
beyond that
regret.
I
which is
don't
known to
even
man.
drink, and I feel like I need one.
Yeah, I started drinking a while ago.
Not
I've
of
been hiding it,
sign,
yeah.
not of sight or of sound, but of mind.
Go ahead, Russ.
You have now entered the Twilight Zone.
I think the Twilight Zone makes a lot more sense. I've
Yeah,
seen a lot of them.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I promise you have my word, but I just because if I do this, we're going to wrap it up. I promise you, the moment this is over, you have my word.
I want to talk to you about biology.
Who, them?
Yes, these two. The one that's on her phone and not actually paying attention to me because she doesn't respect me.
Or maybe she's looking up
do it.
definitions that you don't like.
No, because I deserve to be respected and paid attention to. No,
Do
I
you
will
though?
not accept blatant disrespect. Absolutely.
Can you
Does it
define
irritate
respect?
everybody else when this
I
lady
hope
in
you
the
know
blue
there's more
starts
than just
snapping
XX
as like an
XY
applause when
chromosome variations. There are XXXY,
Right.
there are XXY, and actually a black woman who is biologically female has XXXY chromosomes and then was
What?
banned from playing sports in the women's category. Although
Which sport?
it was track and field. Although she is
Caster
a
Semenya.
cisgender woman born with anatomically
Hey guys,
female
That's
what
body,
about this
problem.
fringe thing?
she was said that there was a biological advantage. So are you saying that
What
anyone
doesn't she
born
understand that they created that problem?
variation
Right.
They created that problem. If it was just men with the men and women with the women,
Right.
you don't have that problem.
Don't have that problem.
Now you got to create all these artificial, hormone standards, and now this woman who's a woman can't compete in the women's sports.
So then what?
Come on,
I think the way that this
you
is
created the problem.
It's a
Well,
huge mess.
I think the way that this might end up going is somebody suggests that there be I guess hormone classes, kind of like wrestling and MMA have like weight classes and stuff.
Oh,
Just be like,
yeah.
if you have this
Testosterone
level,
Heavy hormone
classes.
division.
yeah,
Heavy hormone.
if you have this level of hormone or above, you're in this
Uh,
class. If you have below,
yeah.
it's this class, and just create.
I mean, what's
those.
ultimately going to end up happening is they're all
It's
just
gotta
gonna
level
blend
out
together.
somewhere.
It's going to become one unified division.
Or our country
really.
is just going to crash and burn, and we're
No, it'll just be
see
one.
the end of
There's
civilization
no
as we know
distinction
it. Yeah.
between men, women, trans women. Just everybody's in one. And
Yeah.
what's going to happen is a lot of females are going to be excluded, and they're not going to be
Right.
allowed to play sports.
And then we're gonna have to hear them.
Congratulations.
You could do it that way, and then just say, here's the first place men, the first place, I don't know, whatever. It's just a big mess.
No, just everybody's
Yeah,
everybody's in the same league now.
Mhm.
The best of the best.
Right.
Getting what you wanted.
That's kind of what
Yeah.
they're doing anyway.
True meritocracy. Here we go.
There we go.
All right, go ahead, Russ.
Then we can have an oligopoly.
Yes.
even though they are cis, are not allowed to compete in sports either?
I'm going to ask you.
Wait, no, go to the Jasmine with the next question.
Oh, wait, what's it?
No,
Oh,
she
you-
asked
well,
us
where did you come from?
My
Who are you?
belly's hanging out. Don't talk to
Wait a second,
me.
Who are you? Where did you
Right.
come from? Where did the woman who was right there stand? Where did she go?
She had to go. Go answer the question. I'm
They switched.
Oh, we are?
Oh, the administration shut them down.
It is.
here
Well,
we go.
talk to your
Here we
school. Talk to your school. They're making us
I
leave.
actually don't
Talk
want
to her right there.
I actually don't want this.
Oh, they are making them
No,
leave.
I will not be speaking
All right.
because, like
All
I
right.
said, this is a joke. You don't care about trans women.
Okay, well, we're being asked to wrap up. We have to wrap up. We have to wrap up.
I can just keep talking a little bit.
The administration's coming in.
You can. I can't. This is your. I didn't want this to end. This is the boss.
Taken off, please.
This is the boss.
It's interesting how they just force themselves.
Yep.
Mhm. Well, there it is.
All right.
Guys,
All right.
Well, I am ready for
Right.
that.
That
Yeah,
was
me too.
my conclusion thought is
she has no right to define me as cis because I do not identify with cis. What
Yeah,
the heck
well,
is
that's a good
that?
point. That's a good point.
What the heck is cis? Leave me alone.
I don't know. I'm
So
confused.
this video was brought to you, not really, but it was viewed by us. It's Peter Bogosian. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got a check mark. He's got a bunch of subscribers.
BOGHOSSIAN.
If this boiled your blood, you can hit our like button and then head over to his video, give him a like.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Make sure you hit ours first, though.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
Russ,
gonna put
make
my,
sure you put together some kind of a clip. For another hour and a half of blood boiling footage.
This makes me want to use my powers of invisibility.
Chris.
Yeah, my invisibility.
Liberty,
cloak.
do you have anything else to add before I call it a day?
I am not cis.
You're not
Cis Liberty.
Not
Ladies
cis.
and gentlemen, joining us next week on the program, Cis Liberty.
Not cis.
I still identify as a toaster.
I reject that.
Your
No, you can't reject that. You can't reject that because that wouldn't be right. And you can't do that because I said
Can you
that. And then I knew
define
you would-
reject?
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
You need to do some work on yourself because you have
Yeah.
some bias
Yeah.
that's built within you and the system.
Yeah, you need to accept that you're
You need
cis.
to do
Yeah.
this.
You need to accept that. Come to terms with it because that's what I said.
Who in the blue hell are you?
'Cause I've been walking around as a woman for the last 30-something years.
But have you really?
All of a
But
sudden,
have
all
you?
of a sudden
Maybe you
now,
just don't know.
all of a sudden now I'm a cis. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
I've had enough.
Blood
All right.
pressure medication.
Yep.
That's all time we've got for today. Stick around for We the People, the Constitution Matters. Pastor David Whitney, Professor Phil Duffy. I'll be joining as your legal analyst. We miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you.